Perfect. We will go ahead and call our work session to order at 4:29 PM on May 6th, 2026 in the City Council Conference Room. And we were going to begin tonight with an update on the heart of downtown, but we need to postpone that to our next meeting on the 20th. And we will start, we were talking about, we've had some questions about how to access things for our packets and how to read packets. So we're going to start with a brief overview of that, and then we'll get into some of the agenda stuff.
Okay, can you guys see? I go.
I see us.
See my screen, is that okay? All right. What I'm going to do is, so when it occurs to us that sometimes we don't do a great job of describing how everything works. One of those things is that when we put out, we call them packets. And there's a little bit of history to that. I asked about it the other day, so I'll just give you my spiel. It used to be back in the day, and those of you that were on a planning commission a million years ago will remember that we used to put together big paper packets. We would select all the reports were on paper. We'd put them in big manila envelopes, and people like me would run them all over whatever city, dropping them off on porches like elves of some kind. We no longer do that, but the term packet has persisted in the lexicon of planners. So we still call them packets, but now we're uploading them to the website, right? To this Civic Plus agenda, and send you out that link. And we just thought it might be, talking with Madeline, we thought it might be a good idea to just run through what it looks like when you get that link and it takes you to that page. How you then access the reports and the agendas and what that looks like. Is that okay?
Yeah.
It might be boring.
Sounds helpful, no?
If it's helpful, great. If it's boring, too bad. We're gonna.
Once you get it done, it's easy. I mean,
Yeah, it makes sense once you've seen it done, but just so it's not too foreign. So we send out that link, and that link takes you, the link that you get in that email takes you to this page, the city meeting page. You wind up here, and then if you don't know any better, you look at it and go, well, they sent me the wrong link, probably, right? If you scroll down just a little bit, you're going to see the meetings that are going on, the ones coming up. Today's, then you'll see the May 6th Planning Commission meeting. So let's just use today's as the example. There's two things you can do. When you click it, tap on that, and it's going to take you to this page. You can just look at the agenda, right? That's helpful enough, right? And you get rid of that little, let us know how to help us thing. They're never helpful. You can zoom in and out, whatever, but as you're looking at the agenda, all of the packet items are what we can see. We actually just call it the agenda packet, is all just attached over here. And some of the things are always the same. Other things can be different. The minutes, you can read the minutes there. The staff report for the first items. The only confusing thing, and I don't know how to fix this, is that our agendas are numbered differently than the web page for them. Civic Plus will call this plat amendment is item 3. That's it's in the 3s on our deal. I guess that's true, but the minutes aren't item 2. They're part of item 3 also, but setting that aside. Okay. So you can go and look at these things. If you pull up the staff report, let's just use the Berkshire staff report. It'll show you that staff report. And what we're going to do is also kind of go through a staff report as well, if you'd like, and see kind of the parts that matter and the parts that don't matter as much. If you have limited time and you want to breeze through one, you can focus on the first page, et cetera. But all of these staff reports are going to be there. Other things related to Berkshires, you can look at the plat. These are what we call attachments. We'll refer to them as attachments. So there'll be more than just the staff report document itself. That'll have some things in it, but a lot of other things will be just attachments. So if you really want to get into it, look at some of these other things. The existing plat, the proposed plat, that shows you basically the difference. Or it should. That thing.
Yeah, up one more, a little higher, Nick, left of the magnifying glass, left of the magnifying glass.
Here.
Like that, and it'll get rid of that little panel for you.
Thank you.
Yes, I hated that.
You can also download the packet.
Yeah.
And that's really helpful sometimes for really being, I do it every week, and I do it just most often read it on my phone, but it allows you to like look into some of the plats and really get into things too.
That's great. I've never downloaded them that way. So,
So
where would you download it?
so it's a little down arrow next to like agenda packet. You click right there, it will download it.
It just tells me to download.
Yeah, and you can do it PDF or plain text. I do PDFs because then it formats a little bit better.
You do PDFs because you think you're fancy.
Absolutely.
Just checking.
Not think is.
Is
Does it because you can, nothing yes.
sophisticated is the word I was looking for. That's that fancy. So, good point. So you can see, and this is my personal thing, like on something like the Berkshires thing, it's what I'm always complaining about. I get the proposed plat amendment, but I want to see the existing. I want to see what it was and be able to compare that to what it's going to be. So I can see what they're doing as opposed to it's just easier for me. I have to see the existing too. So that's nice. And then there's always a street view you can look at, see what's going on. The vicinity and zoning maps, those are also usually in your staff reports. And if they're not both in the staff reports, you're going to see them both in slides that we do, but you can look at them ahead of times too. That's going to show you where it is. And then we go on to other things. Should we look through a staff report? Do you want to look through a staff report? Yeah. Just for fun. So if you look at a staff report, we'll pick the next one on Boulder parking reduction. This is a site. Just as a reminder, I think we talked about this once before, but this one's in blue. When you see that blue, you're going to know this is an administrative or a planning commission approval item. This one doesn't go on to city council. Those are always kind of a rust colored. I don't know why we chose rust colored. The blue makes sense because Orem, but I expect to choose something different for city council.
Orange and blue are on the opposite sides of the color theory wheel.
It's a color theory, again, with the sophistication that exchange me.
They're like complementary colors.
Yeah, so between red and yellow, you've got orange
I'd
and
have chosen,
blue, is that what you're saying?
I'd have chosen two barely different shades of blue personally, so it's hard to distinguish. There just wouldn't be any color involved.
And or is that? And
Yeah, there you go.
It's kind of like picking black and white.
Yeah.
But with an actual
You
color.
have to choose color. That makes sense. Okay, so if like I said, if you have limited time, the way these are organized right now, and we may update this at some point, but right now we're going to keep doing this. Simple stuff like the date, the item number, so that'll correspond to the agenda if you needed that for any reason. We try to include on the first page somewhere an aerial shot with the property highlighted in some way, so you can see where it is just right on the first page. If you didn't see that attachment, that way you wouldn't even have to go to the attachment necessarily, right? And your site information is on that sidebar.
Jared, if you're colorblind, that actions is actually will tell you what you're doing as well, won't it?
That's right here.
It tells where the land use authority.
And underneath here too, it'll say administrative or legislative on the orange.
Okay.
And before we leave the heading, also notice prepared by, because sometimes it's Grace, sometimes it's Rebecca, sometimes it's Jared. And if you have a real specific question about it, go to those individuals.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we do that. So if you have a question and you're wondering about it and you don't want to talk to somebody like me that won't know, call Grace in this case. Or Emma did the Berkshire one, the consent agenda item today. So you're going to see all those names on it. That's perfect. Thank you. That's great. And then the applicant's name is always on there as well. And I skipped this. I shouldn't have. Right underneath here, it'll tell you kind of what's going on as well in simpler terms. On our more complicated ones, the zone changes and things that have specific language, this part will say something a little more descriptive and less detailed. And then the motion will always give you the language that needs to be used, that has to be to meet requirements, amending this, amending that. Sometimes we include that up here as well if it's not, if it doesn't confuse the issue, but we try to be more descriptive up here. Site plan parking reduction. So you notice she hasn't in this part right here cited the part of code that relates to. It's a site plan parking reduction at this address. Right here under request, that first thing below, you're going to see the citation for a code. So you can go and read that if you want to, where it is in code 2215.5.
So I do have a question.
Yeah.
Would you rather have us reach out to you about questions or wait and bring them up in the meeting so that public?
That's a great question. Either way is fine. If you want to call earlier or email earlier, say I have a question or that question, that's great. If it's something that you feel like you want to get a reaction with everybody else, so everybody's aware of what your question is too, then bring it up here. We always try to keep time in this work meeting, at least some questions about the agenda that need to get asked. So, and that's why we do it. So you can ask them here. But if it is something very specific or it might get lengthy or you think needs to be addressed right now that you notice, because eyes, different eyes see things and catch things. Yeah, shoot us a quick email, send it, call us up, no problem. Either way. Really bless you. And then under the background statement, so all this sidebar stuff this just tells you that we've noticed it. The notice requirements are different in some cases, and we just like that for our records too. Some of this is just for posterity really, so that you can upload it into our aircraft systems. 15 years, what happened here, good for them too. We did notice it. These are the notices that went out, et cetera, et cetera. Site information, the general plan designation is industrial, the zoning is M2, the acreage is 1.01 acres. You guys are the land use authority. So that's all on the sidebar. If you didn't go anywhere but right here, you know at least a little bit about what's happening there. And the rest of it is all just email. So we get into the body of the report under background and review, and there's more information, but you've got to read to get it. So if you're not up for that, we try to bullet things a lot too. So the other thing you can do is as you go through the background of the review, if you're short on time, look at the bullets and say, well, I understand the zoning, I'm not worried about that. What are the other things that I want to read about? Well, reduction of the required parking. This is going to explain all of that. That works. The things that are bulleted too, requested reduction options. So you just kind of look through those bullets and they might tell you what things you're interested in or what you want to know more about if you don't have time to read the whole report. Does that make sense? And the last item is always going to be the Development Review Committee's actions. You remember last time we were together, we talked about that Development Review Committee that's been going through iterations of reviews with staff up to that point. We'll tell you when it went through Development Review Committee. This date is the date of that formal meeting that we have on Mondays, where the list kind of gets finalized as to what's moving on to the commission. And then the last part of the report is always your actions. So alternative actions that just like to even though it's repetitive a lot of times, make sure you know these are the things you can do as the commission. You can approve it, you can deny it, you can, in this case, continue the request. And then we give you language for a motion if you want to use that language. Free to use your own language as well, but if you want to just use the motion language, you can. So I hope that makes sense. Is that, any questions about that?
I think these reports are super helpful when I read through. I think you do a great job with them.
That's nice to hear.
Good.
We're trying to, we're trying, every once in a while, we make an assessment of what we're reporting on and how it's going, and if we need to include different information. Recently, we've been talking more about zone changes and what we're putting in those reports and how much analysis is going into those before it gets to you, and then what ought to be in the reports and not in the reports. It's sometimes hard to choose what items get uploaded, what attachments get put up. So, traffic studies, we have traffic studies and geotech surveys and all kinds of stuff. So again, if you're ever reading these and you're wondering about something like a geotechnical study that gets mentioned in the report, you want to read it and it's not one of the attachments, yeah, shoot us an email, give us a call, we'll send it over to you. Just at some point, we just wonder how many megabytes we need to load. So
An average geotechnical on on a real decent sized site plan could be like 38 pages. So it's not like we're like, let's put this somewhere else. It's literally the documents we get are so many. So if you want to see them and you want to read them, we always have them. We can give them to you. And
I'm thinking like once we've got the geotechnical report and it was actually important to understanding what was going on this thing. That's usually, if you give it to us, it's probably a flag that something's important.
yeah, that would usually, we would hope that we get that right. But again, if you're reading through this report, this happens. If you're reading through the report and saying, I would actually like to see a summary of that geotech report, then it could be that it would have been important, you just missed it or didn't think about it. So, absolutely, want to see it. Sometimes we should have included it and just didn't for one reason. Oh, it's happy to. Right. Does that make sense? Any questions about how we do that, how you access that? You get that link, go to that first page, click on what you want. So you can do them in any order you want. On down through.
Jared, can you just remind us when that gets posted?
Yeah. Various days, depending on how far behind I am usually. We try, the goal is always to post it by Thursday before the meeting. So meeting on Wednesday today, we would have liked to have posted it on Thursday the week before, even Wednesday if we could. But our Wednesdays are a little crazy because of this meeting here. So it's hard for us to post. And then we get ready for this meeting a lot on the Wednesday. Usually winds up being Thursday or Friday. You'll see that. We try to do it Thursday a lot of times, especially if I'm heavily involved. And it becomes the day that comes out. Always by Friday. I don't think, have we missed a Friday, Becca?
When I was first hired and it was just me and you,
Yeah.
that it came out on a Monday.
Yeah.
Because it was just in January.
Yeah. We try not to, we'd like to have the weekend, ruin your weekend with some reading like this. Yeah, we appreciate that. Good homework on weekends, good stuff. Yeah, so watch for those emails. Yeah. And you guys are like the principal recipients, but there's a whole lot of people that get that same link. Try to send it as well to we send it as well to not in the same email as you guys, but to the applicants. So they always have a chance to see that their report is up and they can read that. I like for them to be able to see what we've written about, what they've asked for. Try not to surprise them in staff reports for saying anything controversial or something in the staff report. Usually they've been apprised of that before. And I don't like them to show up to the meeting and find out that see that they weren't aware of it. So they get it, council gets copies of it, copies of that link. I don't know how many of them go to it and read it, but copies and a whole bunch of staff people. We try to send it to the department heads too, just in case they're interested in whatever's going on. So you never know. And it's just a link. So application. Anything else we should talk about that? Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Well, we'll keep putting out the reports as long as everybody wants to read them. If you don't want to read it, don't tell us because you'll kill them anyway. So anyway, there you go. And that's, if you were ever wondering, that's why it says agenda packet. It's just part of the language now. Okay. All right.
Okay. I was gonna say, while you're on this, I have a question.
Is now going.
Absolutely. We're segueing into that
So I
anyway.
drove out by this yesterday. And the building's up and it's a lovely, huge, big building.
Right.
And they're talking about a potential parking on the north and east sides of the building. There's a pretty dramatic slope on those two sides. And they're right at a corner. How is the parking even a possibility adjacent to the building to pick up more spaces?
Well, they actually showed some examples, I think, in that.
Oh, I know, but those actually have space back off the road. It's a significant.
Well,
space.
yeah, they've already landscaped that area as you
Yeah.
probably saw, and
It's like,
it's down like about
yeah, it's a
40
steep
degrees. It's
slope.
pretty steep.
And so I'm like, I don't know how they'd fit cars there. Plus, it's one thing if you're in the middle of the street to be able to back onto a street, but
Yeah.
right by a corner is a whole different.
We don't allow or want cars backing directly out into the public right of way. That's a thing that we don't do generally. So that solution for us is not really tenable. There are, and they've given examples in this area of places where they're doing that. And I can't tell you for certain that this was done when this was not a public road. Or if they just didn't worry about it because it's industrial, it's not a good practice.
Right, but there's a big space
Slow.
between the building and where the street starts
Yeah.
on that side.
On this side,
This building I mean, I was surprised at how little space there is for them to be considering parking there.
that setback that building setback that's showing is almost just what's required in the zoning.
Yeah.
So they would basically be removing any of their landscaping that's required by the zoning, replacing it with parking and backing that parking directly out into the public right of way. Neither of those solutions are really viable for us. We don't feel.
Engineering.
So do you feel the same way about parallel parking along the building?
Parallel would be easier to stomach along the building, but it would do the same kind of thing. Because if it wasn't all just tandem, it would have to
There is
be
parallel park on the street out there right now.
on the street, sure.
Right.
Along, but you mean, Susan, are you saying alongside the building, like if they were
Along the
coming
side
up?
of the building, because
Yeah.
it would be prohibited close to the stop sign.
It would be safer it would essentially just move the street to their building
Yeah.
and then let them parallel park there. So it would net you nothing because you're parking out on the street right now.
Yeah.
And you couldn't really do 6 tandem. You couldn't have landscaping between that parking on the
That's true.
road and then that
That's true.
wouldn't work. So you'd basically just replacing street parking with more street parking.
Yeah,
That's,
on that street, except for fire hydrants and corners, there's no restriction on parking on the street. There's probably 6 or 8 parallel spots along the street.
Off of Merrill Street.
that's why I
Not that narrow, really. If you do the engineering, the street's not that narrow, parallel parking.
it probably feels narrow because of the way that there are lots of buildings that have that parking coming straight out into it, and I did agree. It feels a little mean to tell them they can't do that, but we don't do that anymore. If we did it officially at one time in a parking lot, if this was an access way running between parking lots of buildings, that's different. But on a road that the city is maintaining and has as a right of way, we're not comfortable letting vehicles back directly into it unless it's absolutely unavoidable. And because this site has already been developed, it doesn't feel very unavoidable. So that's one thing we can point out about this application earlier. It's giving them options that they want to explore here.
Yeah.
Only one of those is really in your purview as the commission. That's that reduction in parking. The other two, to remove this landscaping and provide parking there instead would require variances from two different ordinances. You're not the body that requires variances. Board of Adjustments does. So you can't really tell them, okay, we'll do that. Even if you wanted to, you couldn't tell them, we'll let you remove that landscaping and back your cars directly in front. It'd take us a special exception from the city engineer and a variance from the board. The other option is
Parking.
just making a parking deck, super expensive. Well, you'd have to approve a new site plan using that, but you'd have no reason to. So really the option they're asking for is the reduction, but they showed you those others as well.
The parking deck would ruin what the intention of the building was originally when proved what they were building.
Is that what you were?
I think I remember this one. This is like
Not very old.
back in because the whole idea was to have more kind of warehouse with some office space.
Flex space kind of.
Yeah, in it. And that was the intention. And so even the parking is set up already for having more warehouse space than actual office space.
Yeah, it looks like in those, when I drove by the two middle bays there, they have gone 3 stories on the office space, and the externals do seem to be single story.
Mhm.
I don't know what the exact square footage is, I guess.
That would have been what we calculated the parking at the time.
Yeah. Parking that's required was based on what's built.
I think Jeff wants to say something.
Jeff does. Jeff, you have a question?
Yeah, guys, thanks. Hey, just curious on this parking issue. It seems like we're making this decision based on Pathwright's current use. What happens when Pathwright's gone and somebody else comes in and we've changed it for
The precedent.
yeah, the precedent. What?
Yeah.
Can you address that?
I can. That's the right, at the risk of sounding silly, that's the right way to think about it. That it's, if Pathright doesn't need all the parking and they can show that, then you still have to assume that anybody else coming in might need more parking or what have you. It was designed with parking to fit the building as it is. And changes to that, you have some standards that you can look at for when you should and shouldn't reduce parking. And most of them aren't really applicable here. Different uses that use things at different times. I think their argument hinges mainly on most of their people that would be working in the facility won't be there at the same time. Well, anybody can run a business that way. So in some ways you could say, well, look, if we reduce the parking for these folks, that parking reduction is tied to
Behavior of the business, right?
behavior of the business. So a new business coming in could be bound by the same things, I suppose. But that's difficult to police going forward.
Yeah.
And I think this is a good discussion to also have in the main meeting is to talk this through. Right?
Because you're really talking about creating more office space and stuff too. So
Yeah,
it's difficult.
because originally, as you can see here in the original plans there, the office space compared to the warehouse was extremely small, very minimal. In fact, so small that a lot of people would say you actually really should have had more office space, frankly. But, and the parking that was created right there on that lot itself was actually enough to take care of the parking requirement for that design. But they also included parking below and a lot below. So, but then those lots got separated and now that parking isn't allowed on there. It's not the same owner. So then the question is, oh, they want to build a bunch of office areas in there now. Not just that, but they are adding on or to the second level. So they're adding square footage here. And even though a lot of the office space is being used for storage, still we're dealing with something that's completely different than what was originally the original site plan here. What we're dealing with.
Oh, yeah, if the next comes in.
Yeah.
And decides not to use that for storage, but to desks and there, then.
Office spaces.
Call center.
Yeah.
And also from what I heard from them, the tenant is actually only using half of the space. The other half is still empty, and there's still, the parking requirement is for double what they have right here.
So they would be short in any
They
other
would-
kind of build.
They would still be short.
It's mostly, you'll see in that coding that the parking reduction is mostly tied to mixed uses.
Yeah.
Where you can definitely say, oh, look, the standard would be X, but we can show that not gonna use all of that parking at the same time. So we can do a small reduction. That's not really what's happening. So.
Well, we'll talk about this far more extensively in there. We don't want to, we have to be careful also how much we say in here.
Yeah.
Because then it seems like we've pre-decided before we've gotten there. And so I just want to put that caveat out.
It's good to know.
Any other questions related
Thanks,
to
Jeff. Good question.
this item?
All right. Are there any other things that I guess we're to the part where we can talk about, we can talk about the process. I know we had to kind of hurry through the discussion about the development process and making an application, what that means. We had to kind of hurry through that a little bit, and we didn't get a lot of time to ask questions or take any sort of tangent roads. We can do that. We can ask more questions we can have more discussion about the agenda items to make sure if there's any burning questions,
Maybe we ask about the agenda items first right now. Are there any other questions on any?
I do have another question. Shocking.
Totally have another question.
Shocking. And that's the property that's owned by Orem City. Can you explain that process to me? Because it seems like the city is getting into the development of residential neighborhoods.
yes,
Misunderstanding that. Is this a new step?
or not misunderstanding that.
Is it something you've done before?
This is city-owned property. Well, not that I've done before. I don't think Orem's done it before.
First time we typically would ever do.
It's not normal.
So I guess my question is, why the change?
Huh?
And why the split of, I think it's 5 lots that goes to the developer? And some stay, just a discussion on that, and maybe this is better for out there.
It makes sense in both places.
Okay.
So if it's all right with you.
Yeah, this is fine. There's a lot of background. This piece of property is difficult, and I've encountered this piece of property in some adjacent development for all the adjacent stuff over the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a really problematic piece of land.
So the city owns it.
But because of the way the roads are, the way the sewer is, the way the land drops off, which you can't really tell is how steep the drop off is right there.
When I was walking
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah,
It's pretty steep.
so it's kind of a very unique little piece of land.
It's a good question. It is a unique piece of land. And I think that's why the city's in this kind of in a unique position. A lot of times what a city would do with a piece of property like this is declare it surplus. And if we don't need it for anything, it was going to be a park at one point. It came from UDOT. It was UDOT owned land. UDOT deeded it to the city. The city thought about putting a park in this area. It's not very well suited for a park based on some analyses they did. City eventually felt like, well, maybe it could be residentially developed. It's difficult for a residential developer to do it because it is so steep, so many different connections that need to get done. And there's one other reason that the city is in the position that we're in, I think, asking for it as the city instead of a private developer. These are, first of all, these are the 5 lots that would be part of, they're part of Acadia Heights. That's already approved, but it changes Acadia Heights because instead of cul-de-sacing and ending, it comes through to serve our property. So we have to include them, but that's why they're included.
Okay.
These are really the city's lots. here, and Acadia Heights are already kind of approved for some lots in that area. We would just rezone them to be the same zoning as us, so we can take a little land from them and run road through. One of the reasons anyway, that the city is interested in rezoning it ourselves and then creating a subdivision is that we can serve other interests besides just selling the properties at the end. We probably won't build homes there, but we would develop a subdivision if we're approved. We would develop a subdivision and sell lots to builders so they could build homes there and recoup money that gets spent in putting in infrastructure. A private developer won't do some of the things that the city would like to do in developing it. We would provide an access easement to loop water lines and create sewer line connections as well. Looping utilities is a big deal for us. It costs money to do that, and developers always want to be compensated for that money they would spend helping the public buy an additional lot or smaller lots or whatever else it might be. When we're the developer, we don't need to be compensated for that because we're trying to do it. We just don't have the same ends. Selling the lots off and recouping money is great, but we have other ends to serve too. We can also provide, these folks on this east side have had kind of an unofficial access through this public property to their backyards. This is steep up here too, and they worried about losing access to that property. We can provide, as part of our subdivision, this wide easement that would allow them access up there still. And then eventually they could, if they needed to, we could create a small road that would let them access that back property, and then they could flag lot their lots and create subdivisions. So we wouldn't be cutting them off from possibilities of future development. Another developer coming in here, worry about that. Just put in their subdivision and call it good. And we could bring all those things up, but it's not for sure that we could require them to consider all those things in a subdivision. So we'd like to be in control of some of those kinds of issues. And then there's the final matter in that just that it's a less, not undesirable, it's a less desirable piece of property for a developer just because it is so steep. And the infrastructure will be difficult to put in. We'll have to contract some of that, but we have a lot of in-house expertise in this kind of thing. So we can do this utility, we'd like to do that utility work ourselves. We'll probably put in the road ourselves as a city. So we can recoup costs that they wouldn't be able to. Making the property developable for us, if not for somebody else. It might never get developed otherwise, and it sits in, we can't develop it as a park. But we can't recoup any costs. And it wouldn't be a great park. And then it sits and causes problems. It sits as a vacant parcel, attracting nuisances and issues. We also get to sewer these folks down here, and there's a development down here that we have trouble providing sewer for, or that's trying to get off the ground. We can provide sewer to that area. We can allow sewer connections for these folks that are on septic tanks right now. That's a goal the city has, to provide sewer connections where we can. It lets us do a lot of those things. And we can create an easement for utilities to loop, but also for pedestrians to get out. If not vehicles, at least walking, other families, et cetera.
So I'm looking at this, there's a flag lot there, right? Or
Yeah, here.
yes. And then there's a orphaned lot. What's the access to that one right there?
That one's a flag lot as well. So our flag lot ordinance. Well,
I just don't see I get that. I just don't see where
it's an easement. So it's this right here.
Okay.
Provide an easement to get to this lot as well. Our flag lot ordinance will allow you to do 4 lots of a single stem. So it's kind of.
That makes it easier.
These are both part of the flag. Both flags technically of that lot. Good question. And again, we'll if it's rezoned, if the planning commission recommends it and the city council approves it, then we'll continue working this subdivision concept and it'll come back to this body for a subdivision as well.
Wasn't there another option for a road through? Or has that been?
Option as well.
Okay.
Also, in the neighborhood meeting that we held, the great majority of people that were there, if there's going to be a subdivision, a residential subdivision, would rather that it be cul-de-sac rather than go through. And so we've focused on, because it's not really, subdivision is not really the application tonight. So I haven't included the through lots or the through street in the visuals, just because it wasn't the one that was sort of the choice of the folks that were at the meeting that live around there, but also it's not subdivision tonight, so we just chose one and went with it. I thought showing two different ones would be a little confusing and bring the focus to the subdivision rather than the zone change.
1500 South doesn't exist.
1500 south or
Yeah.
60? So
There's not a.
there's no 1500 south. It's just,
Where it loops around there from 360 west.
yeah,
An apartment building.
this will be
It's down.
in this, as part of this.
That does not exist currently.
No, we will create this loop. It was gonna get created anyway. Subdivision called Sunflower Dunes has been approved down here. So it's gonna be created anyway. We'll front two lots on it.
Literally just right now just turns into dirt like the road.
Well,
does.
and I saw there, I mean, some of those homeowners are using that space. There's stuff out there already, right?
Yeah.
And just to go along with what Jared just said, this is just a concept plan. This isn't what we're voting on tonight. And so we need to be careful not to get too.
No, it serves, its purpose, sorry, is to bring those questions up so that we ask the right questions about the zone change. Is it appropriate to change this to R8? Yeah, go ahead, Susan.
So if part of your motivation is to recoup the costs of doing these things, which will benefit the neighbors. And then in the comments, it mentioned that there's asphalt and concrete
Yeah.
that's up there and you don't know how much, and you don't know if development is. So if it turns out that you can't recoup the costs, does that change the equation on what will happen? And is that anything we need to even consider?
And in a way, it changes the equation in a way. So far, the test pits have been good. We haven't discovered as much concrete and stuff as the urban history says there would be. So far, so good. If it did turn out, I guess the difference would be this. Say it this way. If it did turn out that it was not feasible for even the city to build on it or to develop it as a subdivision, it certainly won't be feasible for anybody else. If anybody can do it, it's us.
Okay.
So yeah,
Really, the consideration question is, should this change from PF to?
right now it's public facilities, that's right.
That's what we're considering.
That's what we.
So the upside is the infrastructure benefits and more single family homes.
Yeah. It becomes single family.
More single family homes to the community.
Right, the solution for another developer, guess, would be that another developer trying to make it work, trying to make the project pencil would be in here asking for a multifamily zone that we don't have, or a PRD of some kind to recoup costs that they're gonna put in. And we still might not get the infrastructure that we want. If we're able to do it with single family, we would prefer that, so. That makes sense for.
Makes sense.
Well, thank you.
Any other questions on any of the items at this time?
This one, the Berkshire one, is that up against, is that backs onto Provo City? Is at the very end of Orem?
Yeah,
It
Because I saw that LLC sliver on there and I didn't know if that was a Provo
yeah.
LLC that owned that property.
I don't have a drawing of that, but oh, wait, I do have a drawing. I'm still in my city meeting state.
Yeah, the owner, yeah, he's right on the border and he also owns a lot over into Provo, right next to the golf course. So he actually purchased that area too, and I said, sorry, you cannot combine Provo and Orem lots together. So he's just combining the two lots that he has in Orem at this point, because he wants to create a large garage, and you can't have a large garage on a lot without a residence. So he's combining the lots so that his accessory building, which is the large garage, can actually be built.
This is the same development that Mattingly applied, and isn't in the same,
I think it's
General agreement.
Yeah,
Above it.
quarter of a mile
is it different? Okay.
south, I think.
Yeah, I think it's, they're,
we'd recently approved one that's just like round down the block. I mean, it's extremely close. So I think we have several of them right in the same area where they're combining lots. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Jared, can I ask just a general question? Going back to the parking reduction discussion we had before. I mean, this is an administrative item.
Yes.
Um, because it's not a zone change, right? It would need to go to city council. Typically, administrative items have been thoroughly vetted by the staff, and the staff feels comfortable with them. It sounded from our discussion, this is a complex one.
It is.
And so what would you say is the general latitude for the planning commission to say, we don't like this administrative item?
That's a great question. This, I'm trying to think how to characterize the conversation we had with them about this. There's lots of, like, they presented those options and said, well, we could ask for a variance and an exception. And we told them, we don't think you'll get that. So, well, we could build a parking structure or deck of some kind to add the parking. Okay, that's really expensive. And the other option you have is this kind of long shot of saying, hey, planning commission, what if we got a reduction in parking? And we said, well, if you want to take that shot, you probably don't fit the bill for that with the kinds of things that we would be considering. And you're supposed to ask for that when you're doing the site plan. It would have been, we've all been built, the whole site plan would have been built around that concept. We're saying we don't make recommendations, right, on something like this to you, and you're percent right. Usually we vetted it, we're comfortable with it. You know, we're not. We're not like we said about the backing into the right of way. We're not comfortable with that. Told them we're not.
That was the only comment the DRC made, I think, was.
Yeah. We don't want that. We don't want that. And they're not. I should qualify that a little bit. Members in the DRC reviewing are like, well, the parking problems, will they be absorbed down there in the industrial area? Okay, we don't know. The best solution would be for them to find other parking, lease, and use for their employees other parts of this area. They just haven't been able to do that. This, you know, without making a recommendation, it's not a great solution to their problem. This building was not designed, and the site was not designed for the intensity of use that they're trying to put in there with Pathright. That's just how it is.
So the implication of that for me is that not every administrative item that makes it onto the agenda is endorsed by the staff.
Right. True.
We don't.
No.
Placement on the application.
Or
Yeah.
Um,
Placement on the agenda is not an endorsement.
but in the meeting, is it, in the public meeting, is it appropriate for the planning commission to try to ensure that they understand your level of support for each of these?
Sure, absolutely. I think the thing with this is that if you're not comfortable with their, and we've included some slides that they did, so they're going to make a pitch to you as a commission, okay? So after our slides, we have their slides. They're going to go through their reasons why they think it will be okay. And we'll let them do that. If you as a commission are not comfortable with the solution, Article 2215(5)(e) has reasons that you should and shouldn't allow this. What you would do is, if you're not going to, well, let me back up. One of the first conditions is they're supposed to do a traffic study to do this. There should be a traffic and parking study that demonstrates that they meet the tenets of 2215(5)(e). They have not done that. And when I asked them about that, they said, well, it's a catch-22. We don't know if we're not going to be able to build the thing, then the parking study is going to show 0. Well, respectfully, I disagree. The parking study, if the commission does anything tonight, if you were inclined to approve, I'm going to break our promise not to make hard recommendations. My recommendation on this tonight would be that you should table it at the very least and say you need to do a parking study, or we can't even consider it.
I was gonna say, do you have those 2215(5)(e) in your presentation for us to be able to see?
They're not on the slide.
It's in the staff report.
It's in the staff report.
Okay,
They're not on the slides, but they're in the staff report. So if you look at that section, it'll take you through those. And the first one is the one that matters. That is that it should be based on a parking and traffic study that says that this is going to work for a reduced parking standard. They don't have that. They're just making their pitch saying, hey, we don't want to do that because if we don't get to do this, it doesn't make sense. Well, that's an easy rejection. If they're not going to do that, then I would suggest that you should table it and say, do that and don't come back until you have it. That would be my recommendation. Because that's the baseline for this. But yeah, inclusion on an agenda sometimes just means that the DRC can't get anything else yet. And we can't hold them up for, so we'll place them on an agenda. So what they did in this case was vote to place it on the planning commission's agenda and let them make their case to you.
We need to let them make, despite our conversation, they are the applicant. This is their due process right to come to us. It's in our code that we have the right to give them this exception, and we need to hear them out and go through the process fairly. Because that is one of the key things. We need to make sure that we're thinking that are we being fair to this applicant?
It makes it kind of difficult sometimes to, again, if you're, and just for your own notes, if you were inclined to decline it, to deny it, you should do that based on not meeting the requirements of Article 2250.
Is there any way we could get those printed out for us really quick in the next 15 minutes? Because I think that would be helpful to us, be able to see those as we're listening and talking, to be able to accurately tie it back one way or the other. Thank you.
And if that's okay, stuff like this is kind of complicated. And
Grace.
We're trying to not. These are difficult ones. They require you to make certain findings and things like that. And we're trying not to make recommendations. If I were making a hard recommendation on this, that's what it would be. You should either deny it or table it, because I don't feel like they've met 215.5E. They could if they do a study and it shows things that I don't think it can show.
Just curious, Jared, under what conditions would the DRC say this is not ready for prime time? Go to planning commission and you would not put it on the agenda.
It's the thing you have in your presentation.
Yeah.
That's the circle.
We've been going through the circles on this, and they wanted to make their pitch to you. So the commission. So that's where we are. And normally that's what we've said is you need to meet these things, but at a certain point, we just turn loose to you as a commission.
Darren had a question.
Go ahead.
Did you?
Yes,
No, you did. Okay.
yeah. What is the implication of denial? Does that mean they cannot do the study and bring it back?
With zone change, it would be. It's not a zone change. I'm not sure.
It closes the.
It closes it for a year. Well, it closes this applicant to reapply.
They'd have to reapply, sure.
So it'd be a final decision on
So
the,
if you're not sure, continuances keeps the application open while they're trying to address things.
But closing it actually leaves options as well, it sounds like.
They have to reapply.
Yeah, but it has to pass a period of time before they reapply.
Only with a zone change. I think with a site plan, they could reapply again, but
Is that a painful process?
it's just money.
plenty of time.
And time. There's some case to be made that so in all honesty, there's a case to be made that we could have said as a planning staff, we're not taking you to the planning commission until you have the study. And the DRC could have kept rejecting that, fighting with them for a while. Didn't do that, but we could. So that probably, it may have been more appropriate, but we had that conversation with them about making the case under 2215.5E that it's not a great case, and they wanted to go forward with the application anyway. It's kind of a long shot.
Get that slide real quick from your presentation from last time.
Oh, yeah, hang on.
Because I think seeing it visually will help, because they can get stuck in this loop, but they also have the choice to try their luck with
At a
us.
certain point, there is a provision in state code referred to as the ripcord provision. They can demand that at a certain point they get heard by the planning commission instead of just staff. Staff is the DRC. So at a certain point, they can pull that and they get to see you anyway, regardless of what it's showing us. But you know, take it to you. So, to the extent that we're doing that without saying words. Yeah, that's kind of where we are with.
It just being on the other side of this. I mean, I don't want to throw any objections on it, but it's just like, guys, you knew you were going to be running up against this. And it's like, well, now that we're 85% complete, help us fix this so we can, it just, it just doesn't sound well, because you knew this was going to happen. You knew parking was going to be an issue.
I just have to get parking. I think one of the solutions says, well, in a couple of years, we might be able to get parking for it. Yeah, somebody else for a couple of years, get parking to your. Yeah, I get where they're coming from. They're committed to this and they thought they had a bunch of parking. So we don't have a solution for it.
Okay.
It has to fall where it falls.
We're gonna, if there's nothing else directly right now, we're gonna go ahead and adjourn because we're trying to start padding out a little more time between our meetings. So,
Have a few minutes to.
yeah.
Bathroom break?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thanks you guys. Thanks.
We will adjourn to our regular meeting. Oh, no.
No, it's like totally fine. I just want you guys to know. So when you guys get texts from me, I'm texting you through like our Podium web chat system that literally everybody in the city of Orem can see. So just so you know, it's not going directly to me every single time. If I'm actively going back and forth with you, I have the web page open and you were talking to me. But if you text me a day or two later, that number could cycle you back through 311 until they reassign it to me. So
Oh, okay.
just so you know.
So address you.
You could be broadcasting out.
Yeah, so
I don't care, or
yeah, you
So
can,
call you directly?
yeah,
You're trying to say?
yeah, you can call my number or anything. I just know we had something where somebody was asking me like, hey, I can't find this thing.
That was me.
And then but what ended up happening was that question got cycled to 311 and then I didn't see it until way later when they were like, you know, this is so necessary. I don't think so.
Oh, yeah, I would just email.
Yeah.
You know, if it's been more than an hour since you texted.
It worked out just fine. Yeah, it's fine.
So when I'm like,
I neglected to introduce Emma or have her introduce herself to you guys. Emma's our newest associate planner.
Hi, guys. Yeah, I've been here as planning intern for 2 years, but now I'm here with Griff and Becca as an associate planner. For you guys.
Okay. Fully staffed again, but thank
So just for clarification, we are adjourned. And we will go to our regular meeting.
you so much.
At 5:30.
You can get one.
Mm.
Okay, we will begin our Orem City Planning Commission meeting and call it to order at 5:31 PM on May 6, 2026 in the City Council chambers. Before we begin, there was an item that was sent out with notice for, it was called Wolverine. That is not on our agenda tonight, so if anyone happens to be here for that, that will be, I think, on our next agenda. And then we will begin this evening by having an invocation by Carl.
Our Father in heaven, we're grateful for the opportunity we have to come together as community members, and we're grateful for the opportunity we have to be part of the civic process. We pray that guidance and direction as we discuss issues, and that we might be able to have a meaningful discussion and one that is easy to work through these issues, and that will be kind and understanding one to another. And we ask for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Okay, we will begin with item 3, which is our consent agenda items, which includes item 3.1, approval of the March 18th, 2026 minutes. Item 3.2, approval of the April 15th, 2026 minutes. And item 3.3, it's a plat amendment, the Berkshire's Plat 5 located generally at 1269 South, 1100 East. And there were some changes that needed to be made to item 3.1. So whoever makes the motion on this, can you include a reference to in accordance with the changes that have been noted?
I move that the Orem City Planning Commission approve the consent agenda with the changes to 3.1, the meeting minutes on the 18th of March.
Okay, thank you. And just to be clear, those are some name changes as we've had changes in planning commission that needed to be adjusted. And then do I have a second? Okay, Susan, oh,
A second.
okay. Susan moved and Carl seconded that we approve the consent agenda items. We'll begin with.
Aye.
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 Jeff?
Aye.
Okay, and just for clarification, we have one commissioner who's joining us via Zoom tonight, so. Okay, we will move on to item 4, which is which is a administrative item. It's a site plan parking exception request for Boulder Industrial located generally at 1353 West, 130 South. Jared?
Thank you. So this is a request for site plan. There's an existing site plan on the property, but this is a request for an exception allowing a reduction in the parking requirements. That is contained in Article 2215.5E. It's usually done as part of the site plan, and that's why we've put it on the agenda as a site plan item tonight. The applicants have requested a chance to reduce their required parking on the property by 50%. That's the maximum that's allowed under 2215.5E. Get to a little picture here to show you. There's a building that it says proposed, but this is actually built now and developed with this much parking. It's been the M2 zone. It was built as a flex warehousing and office building. Office spaces are required 250 square feet, or sorry, one space for every 250 square feet. Warehousing and manufacturing, one space for 750 square feet. So this was built with those square footages in mind and provided 31 parking spaces to meet and just barely exceed their required 30. And a new entity purchased the building after that site plan was approved and wants to build it out in a different way, including much more office space that would require them to build an additional 22 spaces up to 53 spaces to meet the requirements that we've described here, 1 to 250 in addition. The Planning Commission is allowed under that ruling or under that article to consider a reduction in parking based on the standards in that 2215.5E. So that's what they're asking for tonight. They've asked to bring some slides and talk to you about those. So I'll go to those slides when they're ready. And do you have any questions for staff? There's a few different options, but the option that's within the purview of the Planning Commission to consider is just that 15.5E.
So just for clarification on that, Jared, the
Yes.
53 is required. A 50% reduction of that would be 26, 27.
Yeah, and they've got the 30 on the
31,
side.
right?
So at
Okay.
50% reduction, they could meet it if it were granted, but not a lot of wiggle
All right.
room. If you
Just-
reduce
just-
20%, they won't make it.
Just make sure my math's not.
Yeah, no, you're right on. 22 additional spaces in addition to the 31 is what they would need.
Any other questions for staff? Okay,
Question?
okay.
Is now the time to talk about this?
Let's have them do their presentation
Okay.
first.
Perfect.
So if the applicant's here and would like to come forward to do their presentation.
Yeah, thanks, everybody. Thanks, Chair Coleman and the council members. Appreciate it. So I just put this in S-bar format just to try to make it as easy, and I don't want to take all your time on anything, but so we had purchased this property, and when we had it, it actually had a southern lot with it. So it had about 70 additional spaces when it had gone through.
Could we have a point?
And,
Could we have a point of order? We need to have someone's name when they come up and present.
oh, yeah, I
So could you
apologize.
please provide that for us. Thank you.
Yep, Landon Trost. So when we purchased it, it had the southern lot as well. And after we'd signed all the contracts and everything, the individual said, "Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to sell that. It was under contract with another group at the time." And so I said, "Well, that's fine. I don't want to do anything that was that you don't intend to do." And so we revised the contract after that point. And you can go to the next slide here. And so you can see that was the additional, when it went through the city initially, that's what it was. So it was intended to be a multi-use build out type property. And that was what it was purchased for. But again, he said, oh, that wasn't my intent. And I said, oh, no problem. So it wasn't until 6 months later, we realized, oh, wait, now we can't actually build anything out on this because it's not allocated sufficiently to build, even to meet code with ADA bathrooms and everything. It wouldn't have enough space to even build that out for the 4 units. So next slide. So now we're in the point of saying, okay, what can we do about it? So we talked to the lot below us and said, can we just get a contract maybe for 20 spots, something like that? And they said, no, we've already leased out to another group for 2 years. To the west, all of those are owned by a different entity, which is that Any Hour, plumbing, electric, and so on. And so they're not interested in having anything there. So we realized, okay, we're kind of in a tough spot here. And when we look through the different options, next slide. Our actual utilization is quite small. So this is for a medical device manufacturing company. So it needs a lot of major equipment, but it doesn't need a lot of employees. So typically on all the sites together, they'll have 8 to 10 spots that they're using is pretty standard. The other one, so unit 3, the group would need 4 spots, and unit 4 has evening spots only. And so it's well under the actual intended use with it. We tried to get creative here to see what can we do. If we restriped it, we could get all the way to 36. And so if we look at the various reductions on that bottom right table, you can see a 25% reduction would mean the need would be 38.5. So we're just a little bit above 25. I think if we had a 28%, and even if we had the caveat where we said, let's do a 6-month grant and do a parking study after 6 months. And if we find that these numbers are not accurate, then we rescind, or I don't know what the options are, from a city side, we'd be more than happy to do something like that. Because I think we'll find we're well under the actual need with it. There is the possibility of leasing or buying spots from the South Lot in 2 years after their contract's up, and we have a good relationship with the group there. So that's a possibility if we ended up needing something like that. But again, for the intended use, I don't foresee that ever, being an actual necessity. Next slide. So solution 2, I don't think this would ever be popular, but every other, industrial area near there parks on the street. I imagine the city's trying to get away from that, which is probably why it's not allowed anymore. But if you said we're literally the only one who wouldn't be doing that, so if you said, okay, you can do it, that would also solve the issue, but it gets rid of green space. We'll put trees on the roof if you want, and we'll, put vines on the side of the building, anything you'd like. So more than happy to do that too. That's another option for it. But, and next slide. So recommendation, I think, may make more sense to restripe plus look at potentially option 1. And again, even if we had the 6-month caveat of saying, let's do a parking study to prove out that these assumptions are correct. So, and that's all I have.
So just to be clear really quick, are you asking for the 50% reduction, or you're asking for a 28%?
I think 28 would be okay. Like after we submitted these, I went back and said, what's the bare minimum where we could probably get everything, including restriping? We went and measured everything. I think 28 would be enough for it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right. Does any of the commissioners have questions for the applicant at this time? That was bad grammar. I apologize. Yeah, Darren?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I guess I'm not quite understanding the 6 months idea, but so you say that after 6 months you could do a parking study. Why do you want to do one after 6 months and not now?
Well, if you did it now, it'd come back 0 because we can't, it's with this weird catch-22 where we can't build it until we get the permit clearance, and they wouldn't be able to clear a permit till we have this. So, but with that kind of spirit in mind, we thought that if we did do the parking study after we had actual utilization going on, then it would be a little bit more valid. And at that point, you could put as many teeth into it as you want, as far as saying, okay, you have to, build out a concrete superstructure or something like that. And we'd be completely fine with that. So I'm just trying to think if I'm in your shoes, how would I answer this, saying, well, normally we'd like to get a parking study. And if we did that, it would come up with 0. So.
What does that mean, come up with 0?
Well, since the building isn't built out, there's nobody parking there right now. So all spots are completely free all day, every day. In order to get the permit to be able to build all this out, we have to get this exemption for it. Otherwise, you literally can't build out almost anything. I think you have 180 square feet is all you can build out total.
So there's no usage in the lot. It's virtually empty at this point.
Yeah,
Correct.
it's just a shell and yeah.
Right. So I mean, there's, the parking study would say, yeah, no one accessed this lot for 5 months.
I apologize to derail our conversation for half a second. Hey, Rebecca, could you help put some extra chairs up or grab someone to put up some extra chairs? We have more public visiting, so we love it when people come, so. Okay. Any other direct questions for the applicant at this time?
Yeah.
Becca?
How long have you owned the property now?
Since July.
How long do you intend to own the property?
Well, it depends if the company fails or not. So as long as the company keeps going, we intended it to be able to grow out further. So we're going to use half the space and the other two will just sublease out. And those were the numbers of the subleasees. But yeah, it would be intended long-term.
Really macro question. You're in medical device manufacturing. What are the top two industries that you're most dependent upon?
Well, so I'm a urologist is my kind of primary occupation. And this was just stuff that I had invented. And then I eventually bought out the company and then, started bringing it here. So it's urology and heavily dependent in that area. Since I developed all the areas and am the one that essentially does all the research on it and everything like that, I think it'd probably be most dependent on me would be maybe the most accurate answer. So if I went to jail or something, then the company may struggle a little bit.
And what about supply usage? Is it materials you're going through? Is it utilities you're going through?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, utilities, we use a lot of power because we do all of our own molding and in-house manufacturing that way. Not very dependent on too many outside groups just because it's mostly plastics and just the materials that way. So there wouldn't be many dependencies that would cause it to fail most likely. Right now it's the number one in the world by 80-fold compared to the second competitor. And so projections look good long-term on it.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. For the applicant? Yeah, okay.
I have a question regarding the office space that you're planning, because you're planning to add an additional floor up above, which is upping your office space, which causes the problems with parking. But it seems it says in the documents we received that the office space is being used for storage right now. Could you help alleviate this problem by not putting it in as office space, but is there a way to change that?
You can. The only issue with the current one, you literally can only build out maybe a 15 by 15 foot room total for the whole thing. So even to allow the assemblers somewhere that's warm, and a lot of the rules with medical device manufacturing are real strict. You have to have a certain amount of lighting at a certain height, certain temperatures, and even storage of the equipment has to be real strictly controlled. And if you have a clean space, it's even worse. So a lot of that will be zoned as office space, but in reality it's not. It's internal storage. But because there is use of an assembler who goes in, things like that, office is more appropriate on it. So, but we have big sections that are allocated to storage alone, so it'll stay in that 1 out of 750 ratio as opposed to the 1 250. It's just this originally when they had sold it, they'd sold it as a build to suit type thing, and so it was you literally couldn't build anything out, unfortunately, with how it's set up right now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We'll
of course.
Let you know if we have any more. Jeff had a question. For Jared.
Yeah, Jared, just wanted you to confirm what by code are we required as a commission to have in order to grant the parking exception? Is the parking study, for example, a requirement or optional for us?
That's a good question, Commissioner. The parking study under 2215-5E is required.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Can that parking study be done based on a future usage of the property?
Yes.
Like we appraise properties, we can, so it doesn't have to be built in order to have the study be done.
No, it wouldn't be as reliable. It would be a different type of study, but in this type of study that's anticipated by this code is one that would be hypothetical and based on likely usage and things like that. That's because it's part of the site planning process. If this were being applied for as the site plan were being done, we would require the parking and traffic study as an analysis of future likely usage. So it's possible to do, yes.
Okay. But even if we agreed and wanted to do this, we really can't grant the exception by code without the study. Is that just
That's correct.
There's no wiggle room on this, and it sounds like.
That's correct in my opinion. You need
Okay.
the study to grant it.
Yeah, I would
Okay.
like to actually read Article 22-15-5E because this is something brand new for the Planning Commission. This is the first time we've had to encounter this. And so I think it's instructive that we all read it together so we know because this is an administrative item, we're making a very specific recommendation based on what our current code is. So, it says the approving authority of a site plan may grant a reduction of up to 50%, and we're the approving authority for this one, in the required number of parking stalls for commercial, industrial, and mixed-use developments if the applicant presents a parking traffic study prepared by a traffic engineer and demonstrates by clear and convincing evidence that the expected vehicle use and parking space demanded for the development will be less than that predicted by the Institute of Transportation Engineer vehicle generation rates or less than city parking requirements because, and then it gives us 3 options for this kind of second half of it. The site incorporates a mix of office or retail uses with assembly and occupancy type uses specified in section 22-15-4F, which reduces the need for parking spaces because of shared parking. Or 2, the site is adjacent to a mass transit route and the applicant provides a transit stop and related amenities, including a public plaza, pedestrian seating area, and additional landscaping, not to exceed 25% of the total area dedicated as a transit stop. And 3, it is demonstrated that the use of alternative modes of transportation, including mass transit, bicycles, and walking by customers, clients, or employees of the development will reduce the need for parking space. So basically, I think there is a required need for having the traffic study. And then either that traffic study can show us by clear and convincing, which is kind of it's a much higher bar. It has to be more likely than not for clear and convincing. Or, by the transportation study, there'll be less trips by the Institute or that there'll be these others. But since public mass transit isn't really an option, those are kind of off the table. So pretty much we would need a traffic study that shows that this reduction in number by 28% would be met by what the building was being used for. I was going to ask Aaron if that was correct, but he isn't. We're missing our attorney, our city attorney, but so I think it does come back to just in the nature of the code that at the minimum we need a parking study in order to even be able to further this conversation. So comments from commissioners, we can have discussion now, so. Britton's thinking.
So we can do a hypothetical study is what you're saying. It's just, there's no way to know if it's correct.
Well, yeah, there's no way to know for certain that any study like that is 100% correct, but it's not an observation. It's an analysis of the likelihood.
Okay. So. And then is that something that we could throw into a development agreement?
I don't think so. I think based on the reading of it, it should be part of your analysis if you grant it. And it needs to be the kind of analysis that Mr. Tross has done, but done by a qualified traffic engineer to do it as a study and present it
as a prerequisite.
And make the same findings, and then you can consider that. But then it needs to meet the standards of item 1 because it clearly can't do 2 and 3 because it's not by mass transit. So I would read that the same way, Madeline.
Yes. Can I ask one other question first? And I did have another, it's slightly tangential, but this addition, because when we approved the site plan, we approved these flex space build out of space. I'm going to be honest, I'm the only person here who actually remembers approving this building. And I have wondered what happened to the parking to the south because I thought it was part of it. So thank you for clarifying that. But it sounds like there's other additions and office square footage that's being added to this. At what point is a new site plan required as part of this process?
That's a great question. If it makes changes to the parking lot, to the parking area, then it would require a new site plan. If it's otherwise everything's happening internally. If it's external, then it gets a new site plan. If they want to modify the landscaping, if they want to modify the parking configuration, if it changes more than 10% of the site, if they added on more than 10%, we'd do a new site plan. Otherwise, this came up because of the tenant improvement building permit that came through the office. And we couldn't approve the parking for it because of the lack of the southern parking. So that's when we started having this conversation. But otherwise, it's just related to the build out of the interior. That wouldn't require the site plan approval.
So the additional office space that's being built in is interior to
Yeah.
it and doesn't count for the 10%.
No, it
Okay.
wouldn't count for that. It needs to be, it's only coming up as a site plan because they would need this parking reduction.
Right. No. So I just wanted to clarify
Yeah,
some of that, just to be clear.
that's a good clarification.
Susan.
I was just gonna say, I think I have a concern with any kind of exception to something like this, because right now you have the tenants you expect, but we all know that life changes and that might change. And if we've done a reduction of parking based upon the particular usage, if that usage changes, if your tenant leaves, if you do really, really well and you need to have a huge facility somewhere and you move and someone comes in and they have that office space, they're going to want to put people in those offices that then we don't have the space for them. And so I'm just a little concerned with adjusting.
I have a question for the applicant that's along that lines. Could I ask you, as the applicant, you're the building owner and you're also the tenant, you're building this out for your own manufacturing, is that
Correct, yep.
correct?
Mhm.
So this isn't that you've purchased this and you're leasing this out to other tenants. This is you've bought this building to use for your own manufacturing.
Yep, that's correct.
So basically, if you changed uses, you'd be selling it at that point anyway.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would still have some of the same concerns, clearly. Thank you for answering those questions.
Yeah.
It would have some of the same concerns selling it to another tenant because it would come with the parking reduction, which also could make it difficult to sell in the future.
Which would reflect in its listing price.
Yeah. So, thank you. So, I mean, I'm going to put forth a proposal and we can talk about it. I think that we do need to table this until a traffic study has been completed, because I don't even think that under Jeff, oh, did you want to say something?
Sorry, you mean to say parking study, traffic,
Yeah.
right?
Traffic, oh, sorry, parking. We
yeah.
do so many traffic studies, it just rolls off the tongue. A parking study, until such time that can be done, because that leaves it open for the applicant to be able to, you know, to make that option for himself. And it also means that we can actually follow the statute. So if there's no objection, I think I'll make the motion that we continue this. Oh, yeah, we continue this item until a parking traffic study has been done, which leaves you open-ended. That's the trigger for it, until a parking study has been done.
I second the motion.
Okay. Okay, and then we'll go to vote. Carl?
Aye.
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 Jeff?
Aye.
Okay, this item has been continued until we get a parking study. Thank you. Okay, and just before we go into our public hearing items, I think there was an item for Wolverine that was noticed for tonight, and that is not on our agenda. It will probably be on the agenda next time. So if you're here for that, just letting you know, you can leave, but we want everyone to be here and hear from you. Otherwise, so we will begin with item 5.1, which is a rezone for 360 West, 1500 South. There's a request to rezone the property located generally at 360 West, 1500 South from public facilities, PF, to residential R8 for the development of a residential subdivision. It's approximately 5.45 acres. And I think this one's a little bit different because the city is actually the applicant on this one. So in this case, staff will be talking to us about it and presenting what the city's been working on.
I promise to be hard on myself about it. Okay. This is the property. This is the particular piece. There's also some associated properties here that are part of the Acadia Heights subdivision. I'll show you that in the next couple of slides. But that comprises the 5.45 acres that we are requesting the change of zoning for. This acreage is in the PF zone. Well, let me back up just a little. Well, I'm going to come back to that. I should have ordered these differently. This acreage is in the PF zone. The acreage that's part of Acadia Heights is actually in the R12 zone. So that's the reason for the two different zones in the request. What the city is asking for is a rezoning of all of these properties to the R8 zone, also a single family residential zone. PF is the public facilities zone, used for parks and city buildings and things like that. The general plan, actually, this is the snip from the land use map. The general plan calls all of this out as low density residential. So the R8 zone is in keeping with that category. It's one of the preferred zones for that category. Just to the north, there's some medium density residential category, but all the rest of the surrounding is in that low density category. And the zoning is the same. You have R12 zoning here and R8 zoning around it. And again, the PF zone here. The city's aim in asking for the rezone is to potentially create a subdivision for single family homes on the property. Again, this is part of the Acadia Heights. It would reconfigure the lots that have been approved there slightly to allow a road to continue up through and access the property that the city owns. That's the reason for their inclusion in the subdivision and as part of the zone change application. The city, this is 18 lots. There are two different ways that we could do this. We could do a cul-de-sac or a through street. Because the application tonight is for the zone change, just a little bit about process. If the planning commission were to recommend approval of the zone change and the city council were to approve the zone change, we would come back to this body, to the planning commission, with a subdivision application, and that would be either cul-de-sac or a through road of some kind. We didn't want to show both options because the focus of tonight's meeting is whether or not we should do it at all, R8 zoning, whether or not that's appropriate in any case. During our neighborhood meeting, we chose to go with the cul-de-sac for the visuals tonight because during the neighborhood meeting that was held for the property, the majority of people that were at the neighborhood meeting preferred a cul-de-sac option to the through street, although both have their merits. And there were some folks that wanted to see the through street instead. Should make that clear. The majority were for the cul-de-sac, so we've shown that. Nothing set in stone. And when you recommend for approval or denial, or if you recommend it for approval and it goes on to the city council, that doesn't approve a subdivision. It just approves the change of zoning that would allow then an application for subdivision. There's lots of hurdles in subdivision process, just so you're aware as well. A couple of things to talk about. Our engineering department did this visual for us to show kind of clearly the outline, the boundary of the property, because it's hard to show here because there's different pieces there. But as you look at this, this is 1600 South coming up to access the property. None of the designs that we've looked at would continue 1600 South. It would always curve into the property, and at most it would go out to the north. But likely we would propose a cul-de-sac of some kind. In doing that, we would also like to provide for sewer and water utility connections in this area. It makes providing sewer to other subdivisions that have been approved and looked at in this area possible. It also provides potential sewer connections for properties that are to the east that are on septic. Those could be connected through easements to a sewer line in this road. It would be a looped sewer line too, and a water line as well. The city can provide through larger easements a way for folks that have these eastern properties to access the rears of their properties. And with the sewer connections and things that are potentially available, that would make, that would at least preserve the possibility that some of these folks could flag lot subdivide their properties in the future if they so desired. This wouldn't cut them off from that possibility, even though we wouldn't be extending the road further east. The other thing that we, those are kind of the reasons that the city is interested in doing that. This is the easement that would provide a sewer connection and also pedestrian connection, even if we do a cul-de-sac. This would be standard public right-of-way. We're looking at single-family lots. The city would be interested in developing a subdivision, not in building homes, but in selling those lots once they're existing as paper lots. That is my presentation for you tonight. If you have any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them.
Thank you, Jared. Any questions for staff?
Yeah.
/ applicant?
Are you okay if I answer from here instead of going to the podium? Is that?
Yes, you can, that one, I'm going to warn everybody, that mic is really loud, so stand back when you talk into it. I'll do Britton and then Carl.
You mentioned there's a portion of the property that's pretty steep. What is the grade on that?
I don't know the grade off the top of my head. I should have had the
Estimate?
engineers with me tonight. I'm sorry. It
Steep.
does fall significantly.
It's a
Steep for
drop
that.
off.
This
It's a drop off.
It's very steep. This is difficult property to develop for any developer. The city would have the city can do a lot of things that a regular developer can't do. And that's one of the reasons we believe that if it's going to develop as a single family subdivision, we're the likely candidate.
How tall is that drop?
Tree height. If you're down below,
You look at
it's the trees are, it's a, do you know where Krispy Kreme is?
Yep.
Yeah, it's that drop off on that backside. Yeah, behind it.
Mm.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Approximately. I'm not going to say it's exact, but it's approximately. Carl.
Just so we don't get convoluted in this conversation, as far as the easements and everything, that comes in the subdivision planning. That's not a part of this conversation.
That's right.
And so that has to go through its own process
Right.
later on, just so we don't worry about that now. Just worry about, should this be single family?
Yeah,
So,
that's a good point. This is just the question of whether or not this should be developed as single family versus staying in the PF, the public facility zone, which means it just it would need to be a public facility of some kind.
Susan?
And if it were to be developed as a public facility, a building, a structure,
Yeah.
you'd still have to deal with the same issues.
Oh, the same issues that are on the access and the steep slope. And all.
Okay.
Yes. Exactly.
And this is currently, we could put a church, we could put a school, we could put
Public facility would allow a school or a church.
all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
But
that's
it is pretty steep, which again compounds the problem of
does.
development.
R8 would allow for some of that too.
It would actually.
But-
A lot of those cross over.
Yeah. And I think just as a reminder, a park had been what had been floated.
Yes.
Over the years when I've dealt with the properties around this, that's what's always come out. This was going to be a park.
That's what the city had kind of considered for it. As we got more into looking at that possibility more seriously, the challenges of that started to overwhelm the good that we could do with the property otherwise.
Okay. Any other questions for staff at this point? Okay. Then this is a public hearing, so we will open for public comment. For this item, if you would like to come forward, please state your name and limit your comments to 3 minutes, and we will open for public comment.
Hello, my name is Danielle Ballard and I live at 1564 South, 300 West. So my house goes right up against the property. I'm kind of in the middle on, yep, up. Oh, no, that is me. So I put some notes down. I'm trying to keep it short. It said, when I purchased the property 4 years ago, I was drawn to the property because of this beautiful natural trees and green in the backyard. And I just thought, wow, what a great place to raise my kids. They can play back there. Someday it will be a park. Some of the neighbors had mentioned that, had been promised as a park and they've been waiting for 20 years. But needless to say, like the first day we moved in, we were walking back there with our dog. My kids play back there. My dog had to go back out to the car, but you did see him. He enjoys that park. And through the 4 years I've lived there, there's not a day go by that I don't see people out there walking hand in hand. We have a ton of families. I see people walking dogs all day long. And the number one thing we see is young boys playing back there with their mountain bikes and their dirt bikes and with their fathers. And it's a little loud, but it's always like the sound of people enjoying their lives and enjoying the space. Let's see. So whether you guys want to label it a park or not, it is currently being used by me and all the neighbors as a park. Yesterday I went in and I talked to Rebecca just saying, hey, what's up with this meeting? And she let me know that, she thought a lot of the neighbors agreed with putting a new development back there. And so I walked around last night with a petition. It was really just my street, the loop around, and then the one below it coming back. And every neighbor I spoke to said they were hoping it would become a park. A lot of them mentioned, same as me, purchasing their properties under the hopes that one day it would be developed. So we got 23 signatures within 1 hour, which I emailed all of their contact information to Rebecca a couple hours ago. And then let me see, is there anything else I want to say? Okay, so I do hear the concerns about liability. What if someone gets hurt on the mountain bike or something back there? It is steep just going the short distance, but the long distance isn't really that steep. It's sort of a gradual incline. And it's already being used all day long. I took a class for mountain biking at UVU, and that's where I learned to mountain bike in the back. And I thought it was perfect. It kind of is just the right enough upcline to where you're out of breath, and then you can kind of go down, and it has the right obstacles. So I think it's kind of perfect for that. And to save money, the track is already there. Let's just put up a sign. I have a wood shop. Tell me what you want the sign to say. I'll make you guys a beautiful wooden sign. And then I do understand the concerns about some 911 calls that get to the property. I've lived there for 4 years, and I've seen 2 tents. When I first moved there, there was a guy living in a tent who randomly I knew from high school. So he is gone. And then now there was one other time. I did make one 911 call because an abandoned house in that development to the east was on fire. So that was me. So please don't count that 911 call against this property.
That is your 3 minutes.
Okay,
So,
I just want to say that we're losing green space in Utah and in Orem every day. This is a chance for us to save this for the future, whether we want to develop it now or in the future. So let's not make any quick decisions, and let's try to be creative of how we can use this space for the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, the paper that was sent around actually did show both maps. And so I'm here partly because I wanted to say, hey, just
Yeah, I was going to
Point of order, we need your name.
Jeff Mon, I live at 1675 South. So that road that's just coming down this way. So maybe, no, go down. You can see where the intersection would be the road that would lead up to it. That way. Yeah, that way. More. And then down 2 houses from there. South. I don't know what that is.
It's gonna make it worse.
Yeah. Anyways, right in that area there, so close by as well. So yeah, I mean, in some ways, you guys sent out a map and it showed both here, and then all of a sudden you guys are saying no, and then you're saying, oh, there was a majority of this meeting. Just like this young lady, I'm sure I could walk around my neighborhood and in an hour get 20 people who says, whoa, we don't want more cars coming in. We've already got the rest of those cars that would be coming into ours. So while we're not talking about it, please don't suggest that just because the people that were here on the last one, that we've already made a decision as a neighborhood. That's certainly not where we're at. I could make a petition and get just as many people to say, no, we got to have a road that goes through. To that point, though, I would agree. If it's already a park and people are using it as a park, I'm sure I could find even more people in my neighborhood who would agree with this petition, that that's the way it should be kept. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Steve Salmon. I live, if you go to the northeast red corner, with the point, yeah, right there, the house on this side of the dead end, and I own the barn. My wife and I own the barn and the next lot. So we have that whole going south. There, the barn, and then the vacant lot just past south from there. So yeah, we've been in that house for about 33 years. You know, we were told when we built that, from septic tank that we'd be going to sewer probably 2 to 4 years down the road. Obviously that didn't happen. And a park would have been great. We love the idea of a park. Part of our thing is we look at it, and we've always talked about it through the years, that we're assuming that if it was a park, the parking lot would end up being pretty much right in front of our house and the barn. Obviously that's down the road as far as a decision. So yeah, as far as the park is concerned, if it became a park and the zoning didn't change, would the careers and us and the other neighbors going south from us, would we still be able to build if it stayed zoned as it is?
I will answer that question. This is your time to speak, and I will answer that after questions. But I need to sit down. So
That's my main concern. Can I ask, Rears, is that what you're thinking? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Nicole Van Orman, a career as well. We were Sunflower Dunes. We got everything approved, got a development agreement, and I couldn't get one signature from two ladies blocking me from the HOA, which was our water and sewer connection. So our whole lot, we had manholes delivered, we had the excavation company, we had SWIP, we had everything lined up, and those ladies stopped our 4-lot development. It was 4 lots, about a half acre each. It was, my parents weren't selling them, they were mine, my 2 brothers, and then theirs. So we ended up buying a house somewhere else. We've lived there now maybe 8 months. Our biggest concern is that we got landlocked, and there's no way for us to connect to water and sewer. There wasn't an easement within phase 1 of Acadia Heights. Actually, phase 2 of Acadia Heights, phase 1 has not moved. Phase 2 has moved, but there wasn't an easement for us, so we could not get through. We can't get through phase 1 until it records with the county, I believe. And we can't get in. We have a sewer hole, a manhole on our property, and we can't use it because it's a private sewer, and they didn't see any benefit in allowing it to become public and the city maintaining it going forward. So our biggest concern is getting water and sewer to unlandlock our property. So whether it's a park or a development, with a park, you still have to have public facilities, you have to have sewer, water, all of that, which originally I brought up a long time ago that it wasn't, I guess it wasn't very viable for a park, but it was better for maybe like a bike park or something like that, which I was going in that direction, kind of plugging that. And then this was brought up. So our biggest concern is if we get water and sewer, so.
Thank you.
Chair.
Yes.
Where was, I'm not clear where that property is that she's.
The Sunflower Dunes.
To the north.
To the
Okay,
north.
that-
Yeah, it's the empty lot between the apartments and the houses on the street. Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm Jay Lichty. I own Acadia Heights, Plat B, the south part of that, and part of Plat A, and I live on the southeast corner, 345 West, 1600 South. And there's a lot of mixed emotions, and the happy solution would be if the careers could get sewer down through the city property and through my plat to 1600 South, but who's going to pay for that? And so, you know, I don't know. I mean, I love the trees. I love the park idea. I have a personal private 100-yard archery range there. We ride our 4-wheelers. I don't want to see it to be houses, but I do want the careers to develop. And the question is, you know, can that, if somebody was to pay to put the sewer lines through there and water lines and keep it a park, would the city go for that? I don't know. I mean, I have an employee who has been a general contractor for years. He still has all the licensing permits, everything with the city. We have friends, so I keep my llamas on that have excavation equipment. They say we can use. I have other people who know how to run it. I'm not saying we go do it, but there might be ways to go in and for not a lot of money to go in and dig the sewer lines. I mean, it'll still be a lot of money, but it won't be anywhere what a full-blown excavator would charge. But and then the risk for having a park, like they hear the argument, like the city doesn't want to do that because it's steep and a liability, but you can go over to Rock Canyon Park in Provo, you know, you can ski down that thing. And so that's, I don't know. And the other risk is, you know, our neighbors down below, their neighborhood, you know, they want more townhomes
tenants, or I mean, more residents, but we don't want student housing. And I heard like 50% of the houses in that bottom left-hand corner are rentals or could be. And so the city's talked about maybe deed restrictions where you would have owner occupied only, but how many years can you enforce that? And, and our kids want neighbors to play with too. So it's just a whole mixed bag, but, I would cooperate any way I could to help them get the water and the sewer, and whether there's homes there or not, we'd prefer the trees in the park, but we want neighbors to be happy too. So,
Thank you.
You get all this stuff in the city here.
We have we have someone that called in. Can you
Okay.
hear me?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to convey what they had to say.
Okay. Thank you.
And this is more of the focus on a cul-de-sac versus a through street. And I know this is about the rezone, but this is them calling in saying that they wanted to make a comment on it. So this is a phone call from David Terry. And he says that he's 100% against the cul-de-sac idea and that he wants the road to go through because he lives at 1640 South, and all the neighbors agree about the road going through because currently 1640 South is a major thoroughfare for people coming down the hill and getting onto the freeway. And so the road takes all the traffic to get onto that freeway, and cars come down the hill and they're going really fast. And the day before he called, he said a kid who had a ball go out in the road, and a car came down and hit the ball and almost hit the kid. And people just raced down that road. So he's really concerned about that and feels that if that was developed, that the best thing would be for that to be a through street to help with the pressure of the traffic on 1640 South.
Thank you. Rebecca?
So can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I did get an email at like 4:30 from an individual who requested that they have their thing read in. So it's from Amy Lichty. She said, "Hello, I live at 345 West, 1600 South. My property borders the city property that used to be owned by UDOT, and I hear that the city is now wanting to rezone in order to build homes. I am opposed to the rezone. Before we purchased our home, we met with the city and we were assured that the city would not be building homes on the property. The city planner we spoke with told us that the city could not do anything with the property other than make it into a park. That assurance is one of the main reasons we chose to purchase the home. There are many people from the surrounding apartments and neighborhoods who use that property as a park. In the summertime, you can see lots of people walking their dogs and riding dirt bikes on the hills. It is already being enjoyed as a city park of sorts. My foremost concern for the development of the property, however, is a safety issue. We live on a street that has been forgotten by the city. In the wintertime, the city doesn't plow our street. Every week, we have to hike our garbage up past two homes to the 1600, We have to hike our garbage can past two homes up to 1600 South because the garbage service won't come pick up on our street. There is only one way into our home and one way out, unless, of course, we go through the city property. If the city developed the city property that borders our home, we would be trapped. If our neighbors' homes ever caught fire and we needed to evacuate, we would have no way out. Please leave the city property undeveloped. Do not rezone it for homes. Thank you."
Thank you. Yeah. The public can still come forward. Yeah.
I got this flyer. Well, first off, I live at the top right, 10 Oscanyon.
Thank you.
My husband would be here too, but he's not today. He's out of town. When we bought because it was on a dead end. We really wanted to raise our kids on a dead end. That street up there that basically goes across the top, there's tons of kids there, and it's kind of a special little place. And while I see all the people on Hidden Hollow wanting that to go through, thinking that it's going to reduce the traffic there, they bought on a through street. We bought on a dead end. I feel like putting our street through I don't know. It will destroy the community that we have there. Kids are running and playing all day. There's 26 kids that live on just that little block right there. So my opinion is not to have that road go through. I saw the two plans, the one with the cul-de-sac and the one with the through street, and just want it noted that I would like it to be a dead end or a cul-de-sac. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Dawn Mon. I live with my husband, 1640 South, 400 West. First choice, keep it a park. Second choice, make the road go through. Sorry, I kind of disagree. Children live everywhere on that neighborhood and also on the south side. But 1640 intersection with 400 West has a blind spot, that intersection. And when you're coming down 1640 heading west, you can't see cars coming. And so that's probably where that kid the ball got hit. It's just a poor intersection there. And so anything that can alleviate a little bit of traffic off of that, instead of making another cul-de-sac with more traffic going up to State Street and stuff, will definitely help with the traffic accidents happening there. So thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Chuck McCartney. I live at 326 West, 1450 South. When we bought the property where we built our home, we bought it specifically because it was a dead-end street. On our street, on 1450 South, there are 18 kids on our street. We have some of them here tonight, but these are some of the older ones. On any given night, you can go down that street and there's kids playing everywhere. We have students that'll come down assuming that you can go straight through to hit those apartments by Walmart. They come flying down our street, realize it's a dead end, turn around and go back flying again. On the back of this are two options. My choice, or my preferred choice, would be option 2 for the cul-de-sac, so that it would continue to be a dead end, so we don't have that situation. It's an accident waiting to happen with all those kids if they put that street through. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, would anyone else like to come forward for the public comment on this item? Okay, then I'll go ahead and close that at this time. And there were a couple of questions asked, so I will start. I hope I wrote this down correctly, but there's concern for some of those lots on the east that would be landlocked, that if it was even developed as a park, would they still be able to have access and be able to develop their own land, or have, because I know we talked in the pre-meeting a little bit about the potential for there being a road along the back if the city were to develop it.
Right, and access along the back, at least for those folks. I can't really answer that necessarily very well. I would assume that it would be possible for access to continue through the park in some way. That could get trickier than it is with easements along the back sides of properties. For sewer, I'm unsure. Parks often have sewer if they're in more remote places on vaults, and that might be the case here, depending on cost. That's one of the issues, is that without the possibility of selling lots to recoup some of that cost, it's unlikely that the city would run a sewer line all the way through this property and connect the sewer in 1600 South with the sewer up here at 360. So a park might, I can't answer those because I don't do the design of parks. I just know that when Parks and Public Works looked at this, they felt like those options were very limiting. So it's possible that access would still be potentially available for these folks. Might be more difficult further down, don't know. As far as sewer goes, I just don't know. The better option for that is obviously the subdivision than a park.
Okay.
For sewer and water connection.
Right. And then one of the other questions, because it came up in a number of comments from the public, has it been considered to be a bike park as opposed to making it a full green sprinklered lawn playground?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that specifically. I would assume that they looked at all kinds of different facilities and what would work there. That would probably be the one that would work the best, I would assume. A sort of a less developed park and more programmed for something like that.
And then I had one, this is kind of me, but there were a lot of roads that were brought up. Could we have a map real quick just that shows the road numbers? So we kind of have a concept.
The road numbers, sorry.
Yeah, like 1640
Oh,
south
sure.
and 14, because this property,
1640 is off screen here. I could go
Yeah.
out.
could you do Google Maps or?
Yeah, let me do that. Hang on one second.
I just think it would be helpful because the road system around there is squirrely, for lack of a. I spent my life with teenagers, okay, babe? Like, and then, because I know in the past, there's been a lot of discussion about 16th and whether and not connecting 16th, but having 16th come up. It's still very steep there to come up to the property above.
So so 1640 is here
Okay.
and Hidden Hollow.
And then is this from 16th? Again, lots of new commissioners, so I'm asking this question. 16th, there's a road that connects a couple of these houses at the south. That's is that a road or a private drive there?
Do you mean 400 West here?
No, I mean on the top of the hill.
Oh, this here.
Yeah, so 16th doesn't continue. It turns into 300, correct?
Right.
And that's a
right.
private.
I don't know if this is private or not. Is that private? Thank
Okay.
you.
I'm just trying to set this, like I said, I've dealt with, one second, Jay. I've dealt with a lot of the properties around here. And so I just really it is really confusing of how this all fits in. So with the new commissioners, I just really want you all to be clear kind of how things are set up. So the only public road coming in really is 360 from the north and then 1600 south. Jay, did you want to speak to the roads briefly? I can call you forward if you want to.
Do you want a clarification?
Yeah, if you could.
Yeah.
Because if someone knows these roads, it's you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that private driveway, that's the one where the garbage cans are pulled up.
Where's the road the gentleman was speaking about, where people come speeding through trying to get to the freeway?
Here?
Yeah, it's, what is it, 1600 south and 1640, and then that one up above, the 1430, the Krispy Kreme one. What one?
It's the very top.
It's off screen.
It's off the screen, the very top, yeah.
Right above the green trees, that one. Is that one? Where it comes down to Sand Hill?
Yeah.
Big lot.
Can you re-say that for the mic? Sorry, we have to have this recorded. And
Yeah.
so
1450 south cuts in. Do you see the 2 acres that's empty? It comes tees into it. So that's where they're speeding and that's where all the kids are living.
yeah, thank you. So thank you. Any other questions? Thank you very much, Jay, for coming up and answering that question. Yeah.
You had a question as far as finishing out the build and everything on the property, and I just wanted to make sure we address that. Depending on which avenue we take, is it going to be prohibitive of him being able to expand on his land? If we, what are the implications with that?
Sure. So Mr. Salmon's property, because so anybody developing there in that area, in those lots that are above, is probably going to be looking at flag lots of some kind. Mr. Salmon, though, his property is only accessed from right here. So without the extension of that, it would have to be some kind of flag lot to redevelop in here or develop additional lots.
Can I ask what is a flag lot?
Sorry, good question. Sorry. So the gentleman asked what a flag lot is. A flag lot is a lot that has limited access on the public right of way, a smaller access than normally is required, and then opens up in the rear, shaped like a flag. Typically, we don't do flag lots from dead ends or from cul-de-sacs. So that could be a challenge. So his options to develop his property right now are pretty limited, actually. The subdivision that we're talking about doing would open up options better for him, but
Or potentially. Sir, this is, the public meeting part is closed. Well, no, you guys can't invite him up. This is my job. Sir, can you sit for just a second?
Okay.
Again, no, just sit right there. I promise. Just sit right there. Yeah, at this point, if we want further comments, and we can as a commission decide to open for public comment again, but we would need to open for public comment. So if it's okay with the commissioners, are we good at reopening for public comment? Okay. Then I will go ahead and reopen for public comment, and then you can come forward. And please state your name again, sorry.
Steve Salmon. On the east side, that red line on the city property, the last meeting we went to, Becca, with McGeehan, what's his first name? Gary. With Gary McGeehan, I thought it was pretty much established that the city would give us access all the way along that east side with a private lane. I don't know if that's been communicated to the planning commission or not. Obviously, it seems like it hasn't. So that would be all the way down to Lichty on the south end and us up on so you can see the barn. And we own the property south of the barn, and we would like to develop it eventually. So I understand your comment about a cul-de-sac. And so that's why I wanted to say, we talked a lot in that meeting about a private lane going on that east side all the way down with open access from the south and the north. Thank you.
Thank you. And because we need to be careful here because no, you're fine. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm willing to have people come back up if they haven't said anything, but let's keep our comments short because.
And new.
New. Yes, thank you so yeah, and restate your name because.
Nicole Van Orman. We had, if you see the road come down right there. Okay, what is it called again? Blinking. Well, okay, so we had that approved where we could build, and ours is also a flag lot. So it comes onto that 2 acres, but that little piece was approved through the city just to do a small road right there for our access.
Thank you for the clarification.
Real quick, back to the other side. So the private lane, I'm Jay Lichty, 345 West, 1600 South. So the private lane that runs across the top, yeah. So that to me doesn't have any relation to whether you have a cul-de-sac or a through street there. So why couldn't you just, because city said that they would approve that. So those lots down, yeah, right there, those lots down in there could be developed. So why couldn't you still approve that and let Salmons and us and everybody else who has land there develop it, whether or not that cul-de-sac goes in or not? Because it's not, they don't tie to each other, not related in any way. And you could still maybe somehow that way get the sewer and water through.
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and close the public meeting now, our reopened public meeting. We're going to close it now and give the planning commission a little bit of time to talk about a few things. One question I do have about this clear from the satellite dirt lane behind them that they have been using. At what point has an easement been created by this because it hasn't been stopped in the past?
I'm going to refer you to the legal department for that.
Yeah, and our legal department's missing.
Yeah.
But I think that is a valid question that needs to be explored because there may already be, I'm not saying that, don't rely on anything I'm saying. This is a question for legal as to what might be going on there. There might be some more information needed.
Commissioner,
Yes.
just back to my original statement way back in. We're not doing the platting on this property. The only motion before us is, or we can change it, the zoning from EF to RA, right?
But I do think it is important to consider, is it even plausible?
Yeah.
But I do agree, and I was going to reemphasize that as well. That really, for us in our conversation, should this be R8? Should we rezone this R8? And we could just rezone it R8 and say it's R8 and then see what comes along. Even if the city doesn't end up developing it, it would still be R8. Or we leave it public facility and then it's undevelopable if we leave it Well, if we make the recommendation to city council has the final say, to be very clear.
And as you pointed out earlier in the conversation, parks are possible in R8 zoning.
Yeah.
Rezoning it to R8 does not preclude the possibility of a park. It creates the possibility of a residential single-family subdivision. That's the way the city staff has looked at it
But
so far.
fundamentally, the biggest difference is whether or not if we turn it to R8, another developer could come in and develop it, buy it from the city and develop it.
If we sold it.
If we sold it, yeah. So it kind of puts it still in this limbo place with the
That's true.
straight. Oh, sorry, Darren, yeah.
There too, but thank you. Jared, could you just explain to me again, what is the problem? What are the main problems the city is trying to solve by changing this to an R8?
That's a great question. So the main kind of, there are some benefits that the city sees as an applicant in creating an R8 lot or a property that's R8 zoned, so we could create lots on it. It does help us to better provide, it's an easy way to provide sewer access that we've promised folks up here for a long time. If we subdivide that property and it lets us put a sewer line in, makes it easy to do that. Sewer and water connections get better when they're looped. It solves some access and sewer issues that exist for property to the north on Sunflower Dunes that was mentioned tonight as well. And it creates additional housing that the city wants. We want to see single family housing where we can see that happen. So this is an opportunity for us to create that possibility as well, as opposed to somebody trying to develop it in some other way. It does have challenges because of the steep nature of the property. And then there's my brain can only think buried treasure, the buried concrete and things on the property. So far, we're doing well in test pits and things, but there are challenges for regular developers, for private developers, that the city would be able to overcome more easily. So our interest in doing it is to, in seeking the rezone, is to be the best candidate at actually getting it developed as a single family detached subdivision that does those other things that we would like to see done. Connect the sewer, connect the water, make those
That
possible.
checks more boxes and satisfies more things that would be more beneficial to everybody.
Boxes that private developers aren't interested in checking because they cost money.
Right. And I wanted to add to this, this is a unique situation that I've not seen before, where the residents have different concerns. Typically, when residents come in for concerns with the property, they're all united and they all say, we stand this way for these reasons. This one's unique because you have kind of three different camps. Our job as a commission is, as residents of Orem, who are volunteers, is to make 20 and 30-year decisions that we all kind of have to live with sometimes. So that's just the kind of the frame that we're kind of trying to wrestle with, rest assured.
I want to make sure, Jeff, do you have any questions? I just want to make sure you have an opportunity to ask if you do, or comment.
No, not yet. I wanted to kind of understand, Jared just communicated, what the city's motivation here is in this. And to me, that was very clearly stated. So I'm good for now.
Okay, good. Okay.
Public comments closed.
Public comments are closed right now. This is our discussion. Yeah, go ahead.
I guess I just wanted to bring up a financial, hate to speak to the elephant in the room, but putting in water and sewer is not cheap. And so in order to do that, I feel like part of the reason you're doing the lots is to help offset, I believe it was $2 million.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the number, but
Was that the number that I saw somewhere in the paperwork? Maybe I just invented that.
It's expensive.
it is expensive.
It's expensive. And so it's hard from a financial or fiscally responsible perspective to say, hey, yeah, let's go ahead and put water and sewer here without some compensatory offset of costs. So I see why the city is saying, okay, let's.
This is an opportunity to fill that need that we haven't been able to fill for a long time.
So it benefits the neighbors, gives us more houses that we can put single families in and not pack a lot of cars, a lot of people into a small space. So just some things to think about maybe as we're pondering.
Thank you.
We're pondering. We clearly are. Britton?
I think the park sounds reasonable. I would love to dive into kind of if we did a more specialized park. I see that lot. What's the other development that wasn't finished through?
Sunflower Dunes.
Sunflower Dunes, yes.
Sunflower, and then there was the other one that's just off of 1600.
Acadia Heights.
Acadia. I wonder if there's some sort of hybrid where that can get finished. Sunflower Dunes can get finished, and then the remainder, be looked at some, maybe micro specialized, niche park that's got clear defining outlines. Where's that concrete suspected to be?
I don't think anyone knows. That's why we're digging test pits.
I see. Well, I don't think a bike path is going to care about buried concrete. So I think those are my thoughts.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm going to bring it back a little bit to the discussion of R8 versus PF. PF is a holding zone that was created for city properties. It's a public facility. We're sitting on a PF zoned property right now. There's actually a lot of things the city could do with it. I think if this property were a lot of other places, you'd look at it and you'd balance and say, okay, we need houses. This is a great opportunity to put in, a dozen or more, I can't count right this second, a dozen or so lots of, 18, it's right there in front of me. 18 lots of more housing that is clearly needed, that could be owner occupied and, in theory, owner occupied and bring in homes. At the same time, this is a very unique piece of property with a lot of real challenges. And I don't know, for me tonight, I think I still have questions I would like to know answers to that I don't know if we necessarily have the people here to be able to answer those. And that's kind of where because like I said, on one hand, yes, changing this to R8 would make a lot of sense in a lot of other circumstances, but given some of the nature of this property, but I really also want people to be able to develop, the people who've already come through this process, who've had things said to be able to develop their property. I'm still concerned about those couple of lots to the east that are landlocked. And yes, that might be able to be addressed by being R8, but it's hard because they are separate issues. Do we want R8 here or do we not? Versus how is this going to develop versus not? But I think in sending questions back to the city and staff and city council as they discuss this, that I think there's still there's still a lot of open concerns. And I think some of those are questions that maybe if we had other people here, I probably just said the same thing twice. So I apologize if I did, but.
It made twice as much sense.
It did. It was extra clear.
Madeline?
Yes, Jeff.
Question? So would you mind sharing what you believe are the open questions that you want the city to answer?
I do have some concerns about access for the people to the east, and what's been going on there. I think that's one of my I would be really curious to understand kind of more of the park, not park development thinking, on this particular piece of property. Those are two of my main concerns. I mean, I think whether it's a through street or a cul-de-sac, that's definitely next step as opposed to how to configure the land. Right now, we're trying to decide if we want R8 versus PF. Keep it a PF. Okay, Darren's first. Oh, yeah, I know. Okay, whichever one's good.
I guess my question I would throw in with that is how long do you anticipate before you find out what the concrete asphalt issues are? Because that's something I think we need an answer to, because if it's not developable because of the amount of concrete and asphalt that are there, this is a non-issue because it's not developable.
Yeah, and I can't answer that either, but we can find out what their estimates would be from Public Works.
Yeah, Darren?
Yeah, I appreciate that there's still a lot to figure out here, but I also have heard that R8 is a pretty flexible zoning change and that this will need to come back before us with not only through street cul-de-sac, but also apparently you could in an R8 leave a little bit of open space still, isn't that right? Or a park or
Parks
something?
are allowable in the R8 zone.
Right. So I guess I don't understand if it is so flexible, what the costs are of changing it and letting the city come back later with more plans.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's fair.
May want to remind that if it stays PF, the city could put a sewage pressure treatment station on this particular piece of property or a water pressure treatment station. Those are, so if we keep it PF, there are maybe some items that could happen there that the residents wouldn't want anyway. If we make it R8, those options come off of the table just as a, reality check on that. So.
I'm not anti-thinking. We can sit here quietly and ponder.
I support this as well.
Yes, if you'd like to go to motion, we can go to motion. It will, people will still have an opportunity to speak if they want.
Yeah, give me like 2 more minutes to think. I mean, by 2 more minutes, I mean like 15 seconds.
Can you change to this motion slide? I will speak slowly while Britton
Wait,
thinks.
hold on, wait. In my 15 seconds, I think that I determined, I think an object in motion stays in motion. I think I support somebody's noted the importance of keeping our green space. I agree pretty strongly with that notion. I think if we take a property and we put it in motion and changing its characteristics and changing its personality too much, or not even too much, just at all, I think that opens up routes for risk that are irreversible in ways that I don't want to look in the eyes just yet.
Okay. Darren did make motion, so he gets to make his motion. Sorry. Darren, would you please make your motion?
I'm sorry, and I understand completely, right? I mean,
I forgive you and I still love you.
It does, it breaks my heart to end green space, right? It really does. And I don't know, there's a part of me that's still hoping that part of this can be some kind of green space, but it also feels like there's other countervailing needs here. And trying to balance all those, I'm in kind of a similar place, right? I'm not sure what to do, but it feels like the R8 still gives us options and that we've still got a long road to go here, though I understand the comment that you just made. Anyway, I move that the Orem City Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for the request to amend Article 22-5-3A and the zoning map of the City of Orem by changing the zone of the property located generally at 360 West, 1500 South from PF Public Facilities and R12 Single Family Residential to R8 Single Family Residential, approximately 4.45 acres.
Okay. And so Darren has motioned that we forward a recommendation of approval. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay. So Darren moved and Carl seconded that for motion for approval. Do either one of you want to say anything more on this topic? Technically, Darren gets to go first if he wants to say anything else.
I said my preamble before the motion. Thank you for giving me a chance, though.
Carl?
No, again, what's being considered here is just not what the plat looks like, not what the access looks like. That's something, a discussion that should come up later and should be given some weight. This is just changing it from PF to R8, and then those items can be discussed. And again, this is our motion to the city council, who will then make a final decision on that. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah. Okay. Jeff, do you want to say anything?
No, I think it's all been said. Again, just to reiterate, we're just approving the zone change, and then there's a lot of work to do. And I think all neighbors' interests can be considered with city council, and then when it comes time to actually doing any kind of a platting. So that's why this to me makes the most sense.
Okay. Britton, do you want to say anything?
I think a continuation would make a lot of sense. It's just, it doesn't undo the possibility of turning into an R8 in 2 weeks. We can have some of those questions answered. And we can still readdress this, before we have to buy a new container of toilet paper.
And at this point, that would require asking for a motion to reconsider, so. But just so you're aware of what
Vote this out before.
no, it would need to be now.
I'd like to make a motion for us to reconsider for the sake of just having a couple more weeks to consider.
What's the continuation?
Well, it's a motion to reconsider. This is where I wish Gary was here. So it's saying that we've got a motion on the table, and so we either vote or you can amend it, or we can reconsider.
Yeah, I'm totally open to the R8. I like the fact that it makes sense. We still can have the green space. We've done this with other developments near the cemetery. I just think let's get some of those questions answered first.
Okay. I mean,
do I need to second his? How does that work?
Yes, somebody has to second it.
Okay, I'm going to second Britton's.
So
Yeah,
Susan seconded it
to just delay.
Reconsider it. I'm racking my.
So now do you need to vote on the?
Now we need to vote to
reconsider?
reconsider. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was just thinking, but my brain was just double checking, and again, I'm allowed to think. Okay. So
then just to be clear, then my understanding would be you vote on the motion to reconsider, and if the motion to reconsider fails, you're back to your motion.
yeah, because it's like parentheses.
Exactly.
And so we're on to this parentheses for the motion to reconsider. So I'll begin at the other end. Carl?
Nay.
Nay.
Aye.
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 Jeff?
Nay.
Okay, it was 4-3. So, dear.
The motion to reconsider carries.
Carries,
You
yeah.
can do a new motion or whatever.
Because we have weird rules about how many things have to be yes when it's certain things. This is more complicated than it seems. So motion to reconsider.
So I then propose a new motion.
Yes.
I motion that we continue this topic to not the next meeting, the meeting after.
So give it a
June 3rd.
June 3rd.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Britton moved and Susan seconded that we continue this item to June 3rd. So, unless anyone has any comments they want to make on this motion, we can just go to vote. Okay, we'll go to vote. I'll start with Jeff this time.
Aye.
Britton?
Aye.
Aye.
Susan? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nay.
Okay, that is 6-1 for continuation to June 3rd. Okay.
Thanks. I'll get some information together and we'll put it in your reports.
Can we get Parks to come and hang out with us for the work session?
We'll talk. Yeah.
Does anybody have Ron Swanson's number?
And legal.
We'll get all the cool kids.
Yeah, thank you for all of those who came to speak on this item.
And just a reminder, guys, we are continuing with other items. So if you could exit
still
quietly,
have
that'd be great.
3 more items. It's awesome. And Britton, that's my job. So, okay, I do have a gavel. I will use it if it becomes necessary.
Wait, on me?
Yes, I can call you to order. Okay. So we're going to move on to item 5.3, which is a text amendment for Fun City. It's a request to amend the text of Article 22-11-17B of the Orem City Code by including standard land use number 7424, recreation centers as permitted use in the PD5 zone. And I'm going to also politely ask if you would like to speak to your friends and neighbors to please go out into the lobby, because we really do still have 3 more items and it's almost 7 o'clock.
Can I clarify, is this 5.2 or 5.3?
Did I say 5.2? I meant 5.2. Did I say 5.3? I apologize.
Are you okay if I actually close those doors real quick?
Yes,
They're unlocked,
absolutely.
but okay.
Do you want me to read 5.2 back in? So I'm sorry, it's item 5.2,
Yay.
which is a text amendment. And it looks like Rebecca is going to be doing the presentation. I'm so excited.
Yes, I am shaking in my boots.
You got this.
Okay, so all right. So this request is a text amendment to add SLU 7424 Recreation Center General into the PD5 zone. I thought it would kind of be good to do a quick run through of the zone. It's mostly kind of a rehash of the staff report, but I wanted to give you guys kind of a quick spark notes on this. So just as a reminder, our PD5 zone has been around, as far as I can tell, since is in some form as early as the 1990s. It is primarily located along 1300 University Parkway in this area. It is a location-specific zone, so this is the only area in our town that it shows up in. It currently overlaps with the regional and commercial zone general plan zoning area. And it also abuts a variety of other zones. So we've got residential, highway services, commercial, other PD zones that are also kind of retail service oriented. And we've got a few public public facility zone pockets that show up primarily where we have a little school here, little other pieces just kind of scattered around. The purpose of the PD5 at this time, as described in the text, I understand some of this is no longer super relevant. You'll notice it references the master plan, which has since gone the way of the ghost. But primarily it was to provide locations along the 1300 South corridor with planned development opportunities to allow the enlargement of the commercial retail service center development while still being able to protect adjacent residential uses. For any of you who are familiar, we've seen this manifest often in the form of making sure there's an alleyway or a large wall between them and residential. It's also kind of supposed to support flexibility of the designs. And then, of course, 4 and 5 kind of rehash that out in different terms, wanting to support different architectural, landscaping, urban design principles, etc. The primary way that the PD zone does this is through creating a very specific use of list of uses that are allowed in the PD zone itself. If you're not listed directly in this list, you cannot have that type of business there. I did kind of add in a little bit of clarity. You'll see some sections that say like 61XX, and then at the bottom it says refer to Appendix A for a complete category listing. I did provide you guys with some packets that have that humongo Appendix A list. So anything in that area that starts with 61 and then ends in whichever numbers would be allowed as stated in this code. So like the 61XX, some examples are banking and credit services, check and cashing services, 53XX, some examples, arts, crafts, hobbies, department stores. This list was most recently updated in 2019 to include gymnasiums and athletic clubs and health spas. If I remember correctly, the origin of that was allowing the EOS to go right next to the Ashleys. So that's where that kind of originated. So that kind of brings us, sorry, any questions at this point? Okay, so that kind of brings us to the source of the text amendment itself. Fun City requested to pull a building permit at the existing Joann's to do a trampoline park inside of it. I had the not so happy opportunity of telling them, no, you cannot do that, because due to their building plans, their classification, yes, they had a trampoline park in them, but they also have party rooms, zip lines, an indoor playground, which we consider that and came to the conclusion that a recreation center kind of general designation would be more applicable to them. The next closest one was amusement park, which clearly does not fit here. As a result of that, they requested to have recreation centers for 7424 included in the PD 5 zone. And that's how we've gotten to this point. So yeah, any questions about that?
Any questions at this point?
Yeah, can you define a recreation center, what that actually means?
Yeah, I actually do not. This is the great pitfall of our appendix. Our appendix does not have a definition expressly laid out. So we are aware that this request could open the door for anything that could fit enough into that category as a business license use to attempt to go into a building located in the PD5 zone.
I have a question, Jeff, if you didn't have a follow-up question.
Really just want to understand then how you would differentiate between recreation center and an amusement park, for example. Like, where's that boundary? I don't know that either's. I mean, I don't have a bias against center, but just want to understand what it is that we're allowing to be in that zone. If I don't understand that, it's hard to make a decision about whether it's appropriate or not.
Yeah, my question can be an indent on that question is, do we know what Provo Beach Resort is classified as?
I have no idea what the Provo Beach, I believe that's not in our zone.
It's in Provo.
You don't know the zonings of other cities?
Comparable. Yeah, it kind of makes sense. It's a comparable thing that is not a blemish, I don't think, on that development, right? Or on the city. And so if that's what that means, then that's important for us to understand.
Yeah. And it's also the wider question because this doesn't apply just to the former Joann's. It applies to the whole PD zone.
Yeah.
So that includes, as you saw, a lot of that side of University Parkway and the other side. So, Well, I have a question that's along the same line there. I was just going to say, because that's part of my question too. Aren't there general definitions for these or do they not exist? And that's just, to kind of answer the question. And then Carl?
Yeah, so like the roller skating rink, was that a recreation center? Okay.
Yes.
That was the question.
Except I think roller rinks are actually listed on their own.
The if I may, the wonderful, horrendous thing about our appendix is while a lot of other cities kind of leave them more open as general categories, our appendix has a very specific call out list. That's why, unfortunately, that is about, I think it's like 60 pages long. And I got each one down to 10 pages using front and back. So when people come through applying for a business license or a building permit, and we're trying to match a use to a license and to what's going into that building, we have to look at that code and see. Sometimes it's really neatly called out. I've had things where it's like green compost is specifically called out and all these different uses. Somebody was clearly thinking about them at one point. But then we have things like a trampoline park that they don't quite fit into a gymnasium and athletic club because of all these, there's an arcade in it and everything. So we're kind of left looking at what's left over.
It is reassuring. If you look into the 72, 73, 7400s, they do have other descriptions that would eliminate the possibilities of other things. So for example, riding stables, right? Yeah. So if we do classify them into that one, then that does exclude all of the ones that are pre-classified. That's my understanding. Is that correct?
Yes.
And just for quick note on how to read this, N's mean it's not allowed, C is conditional, and P is permitted. So as opposed to a Y for yes, it's P for permitted.
Yeah.
Just to keep that in mind as you're scanning this long. But this will be good because we've needed this for other, we've needed this for a few other things.
It will be relevant for the next item too.
So what are they, so what's the item that they want gymnasiums and athletic clubs?
They had originally petitioned to pull their building permit as a gymnasium athletic club, but we had determined that because of the amusement, entertainment, things that were included in their building plans, that it would not fit in that category.
But there's no clear defining determination.
No.
So that's just,
Yeah, the only thing is
that's one way to
historically,
interpret it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Historically, we have used it for our VASAs, for our EOSs. So when it kind of shows up in the business license system, there's a kind of almost an ideological precedent, but not a flat out definition.
I'm going to step in and ask a really quick question because I think we need to, because it's the standard land use code. Whose standard land use code? Where do these codes come from? And I was kind of trying to ask this a little bit earlier, but specifically, could you speak to what we're looking at here?
Yes.
Okay. So standard land use codes were standard, for lack of a better word, a long time ago. Several cities are still using SLU codes. I'm not sure where they originated. They've been pilfered and cobbled together from some source for a long time, from the 50s. I've seen some, I won't repeat what the codes are, what their descriptions are, but suffice to say that they are no longer relevant or okay to say. That's how old some of these are. There are not a lot of cities still using them, but most have gone to a more open system where your interpretation is, it's easier to make an interpretation to make things fit because the boxes are just broader.
Yeah.
Ours has this annoying extra layer too, where everything that's not listed in some standard land use codes, in the 3 or 4 cities that are still using them, it'll have a catch-all and say, hey, other gymnasium or other recreation NEC, not elsewhere classified. Ours does that too, and then it prohibits all of those, leading us to believe that we need to make it fit or amend our list. So where we are able to, we try to interpret as broadly as we can and bring things into categories that already exist, as opposed to creating new categories all the time and adding to the monstrosity that is the standard land use code. But in some cases, like in this case, for example, like Becca said, for gymnasiums and athletic clubs, we've limited that to yoga studios and VASA and EOS and that kind of thing. And this is more of a recreation and amusement kind of facility. So we want to add that, and we have a category for that. So it
would make sense to me if it was based on like the percentage of the structure.
Yeah, and that would require some sort of language in the land use list. What we rely on is our interpretation, and then our administrative determination can be appealed. Like if we just said no, and they didn't want to try to add it to the list, they could appeal our determination and say, well, we think we are a gymnasium, and then we would take that to the ALJ and have them determine if we were wrong or not.
So essentially, it's a Gary question.
Yeah,
to some extent.
It's an old method of doing it. Most codes have moved on. We're considering moving on. It's a big change, so we haven't pulled the trigger back.
But so just to clarify, and then I would love to hear. Just to clarify, so basically you went through that set of that list and you said, what's the closest thing to this? And that was doing recreational general. Okay, Rebecca.
And I know it's like, oh, what did they pick? I do have an email exchange with them in which they told me, totally like unprompted, that they strongly believe that they fit into an indoor recreational use, which I don't have an indoor recreational, but I do have a recreational general. So using what they had proposed in their email, that was the closest thing we could.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is the applicant here? Because we have not given the applicant an opportunity to speak, and I think that might help kind of some of this discussion. So if the applicant would like to come forward.
My name's Kenny Stiles. I'm actually a representative of the property owner. A representative of the applicant is here as well from Fun City. So if you would like to specifically talk to her, that'd be great. She has asked for me to represent the applicant, though, if that's okay.
That's totally fine.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Yeah. Did you have specific questions for me at this time, or?
I think some of the questions is what is the intent of the facility? What's going to be in it?
Sure.
So we can kind of say, does this code fit? Or do we want
Absolutely.
to adopt this code?
Absolutely. So I think,
Recommendation.
you brought up some perfect examples of how I think the city here recently has done some good things in terms of adopting gyms and health clubs into this zoning code. 1990 was a long time ago in the retail world, and we're seeing retail evolve all the time. So just to give you some background, my company owns and manages about 2.4 million square feet in Utah. We own in other states as well. And in Orem alone, we own Family Center at Orem, University Crossing, and Orem Plaza. So a little over 500,000 square feet. So we're very invested in Orem. We've been a part through certain different partnerships in those properties for more than 10 years. As you guys know who've been here a long time, Family Center at Orem has changed a lot, especially since we bought it originally 10 years ago. Tenants that take 40,000 square feet don't hardly exist anymore. And the tenants that do are typically this type of use. And what we see and what we have experienced from other, more typical retail tenants, such as in this property, Second and Charles, Ashley Furniture, Michaels, is that they are very supportive of this use. Whereas 15, 20 years ago, just like with gyms, those uses were always prohibited by those tenants. But what they have experienced is the cross shopping, the complementary uses. Michael's actually it was an older lease and it had a prohibition against this type of use. We had to go to Michael's to ask them for approval, and they approved it right away. And they said they love it actually, since their use has changed with the loss of Joanne and Party City. They do a lot more party business. So they love the opportunity to where Fun City will be having birthday parties and there will be a lot of cross shopping there. So our neighboring co-tenants are very supportive of this. As far as the use is concerned, I did have a couple of questions because I know these are different zones, but very nearby in the PD 34 zone, you've got the Rush Funplex at University Place Mall, which I believe is a very similar type use. And then the Hang Time gym, and that is, I believe, HS.
Yeah, that's Highway Services.
Highway Services. Yeah. So I didn't know if you knew what categories those uses were approved under.
That is an excellent question.
So the Hang Time is listed as an amusement park. And then the Rush Funplex has its license pulled as an arcade.
Good. Okay.
No, could you speak a little more as to what would be going in the Fun City? Like,
yes,
just so we kind of have an idea of what kind of things we're talking about. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Leishan. For the Fun City, most of these parks around the US, we usually have the trampolines, the foam pits, and like diving boards, playground ball pits, and as well as the ropes course and wall climb area. And the party rooms usually are open rooftop, so it's just open ceilings, so there's not really enclosed. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Did you have any other question for me?
Do any of you? Okay, thank you. Okay, are there any other questions for the applicant directly right now? Okay, all right. All right, then this is technically a public hearing. So I will use this as an opportunity to open for public comment on this addition for the land use. Same rules apply as before. 3 minutes and state your name when you come up. I know you have the one to read in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead, Grace.
Okay, I do have one to read in. It's similar to what Kenny Stiles was saying here, but I'll officially read this letter. Let's see, this is from, I have here Orem Family Center LLC, an affiliate of Community Development Real Estate LLC. Dear Honorable Chair and Planning Commissioners, as the owners of the property at the Family Center at Orem on East University Parkway, we support the applicant's Fun City request for the text amendment to allow for the proposed recreational use at the 40,035 square foot tenant space located at 172 East University Parkway. We own and manage more than 2,400,000 square feet of commercial property throughout Utah, including approximately 525,000 square feet in Orem between Family Center at Orem University Crossing and Orem Center State Plaza. Over the last few decades, the nature of brick and mortar commerce has evolved significantly. The market for traditional retail uses has changed, with customers seeking a variety of experiential and service uses at both neighborhood and regional shopping centers. This has provided challenges for communities who desire these new uses, such as Fun City, an indoor recreational and family entertainment facility, which are unfortunately not contemplated or permitted by the current zoning codes. Here, the proposed Fun City facility would create one new tenant space out of two existing ones, formerly occupied by Lumber Liquidators and Joann's, each of which filed for bankruptcy and closed. Specifically, Fun City would provide a year-round indoor trampoline park containing foam pits, climbing elements, and obstacle ninja courses to serve both children and adults. This kind of new use offers a healthy environment for active physical recreation and delivers a community-oriented alternative to pervasive social media engagement. Moreover, this use is viewed by the shopping center's tenants, including Michael's, as complementary to their businesses and will enhance the center's overall desirability. Additionally, Fun City will have a direct impact on the local economy as it anticipates employing 30 to 50 people and generating approximately $2 million in annual revenue. We have seen similar facilities succeed in nearby communities in other retail shopping centers we own, such as the Van Winkle Shopping Center in Murray, Utah, Fun City, the former Dan's Market at 33rd and 23rd in Mill Creek, Utah, Slick City, and Fort Union Shopping Center in Midvale, Utah, Urban Air, permitting a family-oriented business to replace a vacant and large commercial space advances the city's economic goals and will fulfill a market demand. We urge the Commission to approve the applicant's reasonable request for the text amendment, which will not only meet an identified need in the current market, but also provide economic benefits to the community. Thank you for your consideration, and we look forward to our continued investment in the city of Orem. Sincerely, Stephen Ustan. I hope I said that correctly.
I have some questions.
Thank you, but we're still in public comment.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So if nobody else would like to come forward and speak on this issue, would you like to? Absolutely.
Good evening. I'm Marion Baxter. I live at 325 West, 1600 South in Orem. So I'm not far from the area that this is being considered, the conversion of the property. And I really appreciate, I actually came for, I arrived late, but I was listening. Thank you for broadcasting. And I appreciate that this opportunity is coming up before you as the Planning Commission and your recommendation that will go on to the City Council, because that empty commercial space, the whole landscape is changing of how properties are used, how they're managed, what they're developed into. And this looks like a good fit. There's ample parking, there's excellent access right off of, to the east. There's access directly into the parking lot. There's other services available in this facility and on this property for food and different things that I don't perceive a conflict. And we have lived in Southwest Orem for over 42 years, and in Southwest Orem particularly. And so thank you for the opportunity to give some positive feedback on a conversion like this. I think it will fit very well and service all of the city of Orem and even be a draw because we don't have this entity in Utah County. And so it may actually become somewhat of a Utah Valley draw for what can accomplish. And I hope it would be managed well and maintain that. So thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and close the public comment this time. Britton really has something to say. I'm sorry.
I have some follow-up questions on the owner representative. Is this property owner managed, or is there a third-party management company?
There's third-party property management company. So we do what we would consider to be all of the asset management. So anything to do with really the leasing side of it. So we use local brokerage here, Newmark Mountain West, to identify potential tenants, and then we handle all of the contract side of everything. The physical property management of the property is third-party managed.
Who's that?
It is Colliers. Yeah. And just to be clear, we do not own the EOS and Ashley Fitness box or the pads.
Yep. That's it. Thanks. And then I had another question for the applicant specifically. With the layout of this, how far into the mapping and the layout of the facility are you?
Oh, I don't think I'm able to answer that question. I apologize.
Kenny?
Yeah, I can.
I just want to know, it's geared towards children and adults. I know like the American Ninja Warrior thing is really big. Like how far are we leaning kids versus adults, kind of the middle ground?
There, yeah, you can take that. So you're asking.
You're good.
Okay. So it's usually mostly leaning towards kids. Adults can participate in some of the activities that we do offer, such as, the trampolines, ninja course, and wall climbing obstacles.
Great, thanks. That's it for me.
Yeah, Rebecca, is that response to this?
Yes, I didn't include them because I didn't know if it was appropriate, but I do have the building permit plans that show the layout. I don't know, I didn't include it because I don't know if that's pertinent to the text amendment itself, but in case you're curious.
Okay. Susan?
Kind of a comment overall on this. Are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
So a couple thoughts. One is this is the standard land use might be a great thing that we review in the future.
Yeah.
Because it obviously has some glaring holes in. My second thought when I first reviewed this is I think it's a great use of all this empty retail space. I don't see a downside to it, to be really honest, because there's so much that sits vacant. And I love that we're doing this cross business, reaching out and trying to make that work. And as far as I'm concerned, it's like an athletic club for kids. Because it really is. You go to an adult athletic club and they're doing whatever they want to do. And then they're hanging around in the smoothie bar and you know what I mean? So there's not a whole lot that differs from perspective on that for me.
I think the adult ones should have arcades too.
That would be more fun.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was getting at is on the one road that connects UVU and BYU with 30,000
absolutely.
young single adults.
And UVX.
And UVX.
Yeah.
I would hope that it would definitely have a large child center, but I would hope that it would have a significant includability in adults.
Yeah. And I think for me, I think there's this is great. This is what we need. We need more of this in Orem. The real question is just what's the appropriate category? And that's going to be a little bit of the, I guess, back and forth. Any other comments or questions at this time? Okay. So bringing it back, Jeff, did you have anything?
No.
Okay. So bringing it back to what's before us is that do we want to forward a recommendation for adding 7424 recreation centers general to the plan, or is there another designation? Is it, because it seems like it's wide open and whatever we want it to be, but then it leaves it wide open. Is it?
Yeah.
It's like,
What's the,
yeah.
what's the heavier lift? Is it including it into this or is it adding its own listing? Does that make sense?
I have an opinion about that. If
You can have an opinion.
is
Yes,
that fair?
Jared.
I think the salient point is that was made already earlier. A lot of specific things are listed. And since they're listed specifically, then they might be components of something like this, but that would have to be, they'd have to be listed. So it's not, it's a broad category, but the specific ones that are listed, you know, they kind of narrow it to this kind of a facility. We have facilities for example, an axe throwing category. We have I think we shied away from creating a smash room category and just said, that's like axe throwing. We're just leaving it.
It's close enough.
But yeah, so there are some, it's not so broad that to be concerning in my view.
Okay. So, like I said, I think it comes down to that. If we think this is the right category, then we forward a positive recommendation to city council. Because I mean, in and of itself, this is great. I think this is wonderful.
Yeah.
So further discussion and or motion are all acceptable at this point. Yeah, and turn your mic on.
So I guess my question would be, sorry,
Yeah.
would there be a reason we wouldn't want to move forward? If we change this to include that, what does that open the door to?
And I think that's a fair question.
Recreation centers in general, does that mean they're going to try to put a mini lagoon somewhere?
I think that's the amusement park. That
Yeah.
was an amusement park.
Has
Which
its
we
own
could go
category.
for and just see what happens.
I'm just wondering what could go in if we change this to that, assuming it's not successful. I think it will be wildly successful, but
I'm going to give my opinion first.
Yes.
I think the truth is recreation centers is actually still narrow enough that I think you're talking trampoline parks, those kind of things. American Ninja course for young adults, if anyone's listening. No, but like, I think it's narrow enough. I think if we said amusement park, I think it could, in theory, open up for a broader thing. I think it's interesting that we have that in the HS.
Can I make rifle ranges is listed separately.
Okay. Rebecca's gonna say something and then Jeff.
I just kind of as a quick little fun fact, business licensing used to not be in our department at all. So it used to be not planners that were determining what a use was. So when Hang Time got its license as an amusement park, that was not a decision made by planning, and that is why it's in planning now. So just to answer that curiosity.
Cool. Jeff?
Yes, I just wanted to confirm that by just specifically mentioning recreation centers, we're avoiding the amusement park problem, right? So.
Yes.
Do I have that right? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah. So. Okay. Carl, you wanted to make a motion like 4 minutes ago.
I'm patient.
Thank you for your patience.
I move that the Orem City Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for the request to amend Article 22-11-17B of the Orem City Code by including the standard land use number 7424 recreation centers general as a permitted use in the PD5 zone.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Carl moved and Daryl seconded that we forward a positive recommendation of approval to City Council for this land use designation. Okay, we'll go to vote. Britton?
Aye.
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 Jeff?
Aye.
Okay. That motion passes. It will go to City Council from here. Thank you. All right. Item 5.3 this time for real. It is a text amendment for the mini mustachery. It's a request to amend Appendix A of the Orem City Code by including standard land use number 6231, barbershops, and standard land use 6232, tattoo and body piercing as permitted uses in the M2 manufacturing zone. Rebecca, are you doing this one as well?
Yes. I feel like it's hard to elaborate on this more than the description, but also maybe just to kind of run through it. Just as you said, it is a request to add beauty and barbershops and the tattoo and body piercings as uses in the M2 zone. Just as a quick run through, the M2 zone is currently primarily located west of the I-15 or kind of up in that northwest Orem pocket, but it should be important to note that location is not a requirement of the zone. So at any time, anybody anywhere could potentially request to be an M2 zone anywhere. So it's different from our PD zones in that regard. The M2 zone is, per its definition, intended to provide areas where heavy intensity industrial activities can be used and developed. But curiously, the appendix actually does allow for a variety of not just manufacturing and industrial uses in the M2 zone, but also most retail and wholesale trades, and a lot of 6X service uses. So the appendix that you have in front of you does kind of that quick run through. The amendment itself was requested because the applicant owns a building in the M2 zone and would like to convert the retail front of it into a barber shop that has, of course, barber chairs and some tattoo services. The reason why why he has requested both uses is because our code specifically only allows tattoo and body piercing as an incidental use to the barber shop and beauty shop. So you can't have tattoos without first having the beauty barber shop. So that is why both uses have been requested. Were there any questions about that? Carl?
So, okay.
Yeah.
Tattooing would also be considered like eyebrow tattooing, those kinds of things, which are considered more of a beauty shop function today than other tattooing. So it's kind of a blended situation from my understanding. So I just want to make sure that that was included in both of those. So it isn't just inherent in a beauty salon then.
Yeah, oftentimes, yes. Anything else?
Anything else for staff?
Okay.
What personally see like massage therapy places everywhere. I wonder, what does the city have in terms of like governing volume of like one concentrated business?
I am not aware of anything that we have right now that specifically governs those kinds of things. I know we do see like area limits show up in the instance of if you're going to have like a sober living home or a place that sells liquor, they obviously they cannot be within a certain range of each other. And same for some of our elderly care facilities. They have limits on how close they can be to some other things. But the tattoos and body piercings currently do not have that kind of a limit, neither distance or sheer numbers.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think my only concern is if we expand this to such a significant land use category, such as M2. Is it M2?
Yes, M2.
I think we would see a huge influx of self-operators that may not govern themselves as well as maybe the applicant currently does, right? We may be opening the threshold for a lower standard of operator.
Okay. Yeah. Normally, how do I try to word this? Because whenever we have, and I don't know if this plays into the concern, if it answers or assuages or maybe certifies it, right? But whenever we have somebody who comes in and applies for a tattoo license, we put them through the whole business license application, and that will also include they have to turn in their Doppel licenses. They have to turn in their state registration. They also have to get clearance for the beauty and barbershop part as well. And then they're also open to building inspections. We will not give you your license until we've had building inspectors inside that building. And I do have a little bit about building occupation codes if that's something you'd like to hear too.
Good.
Okay. So kind of going along with that concern, could a random barber shop or tattoo shop just show up anywhere, like this warehouse randomly? Could I just walk in and say, I'm going to start cutting hair here now? The answer is pretty much no. Even if we approve the use, what ends up happening is warehouses do have a different building occupancy classification than a retail center itself. When they apply for that business license, changing the uses, that initiates that occupancy change. So that means our inspectors go in before that license is issued, and they look for things that are suitable for occupancy B, which generally is more exits, more like ADA accessibility. That makes us look at parking. A warehouse can have one parking stall for every 750 square feet, but if you're going to use it as retail, we're now interested as one parking stall for every 250. So there'll be a little bit more of some higher codes that kick in as part of that use change if they choose to convert a generally M2 storage warehouse into this type of a use.
That's it for me, thanks.
Okay. Okay, is there anything specifically for staff?
Could you bring up that map again of I just want to see where like M2, so like C1 and C2 could have tattoo parlors, is that correct? And C2 is kind of like that red corridor going down. So that's right in the middle of town. We already allow that there just for consideration, whereas this is clear on the industrial side where there's less children and teenagers and less traffic in that area than there is in the red zone. So, just as if you're putting that in perspective, I think we need to consider that.
I think that's reasonable. I think it's also important to consider the underdevelopment of that area. I think there's a lot of lacking infrastructure down there, and with lacking infrastructure comes lacking of kind of community support. I think if data analysis of demographics, activities increase or decline in that area, I think we're reactive in responding to those. And that's, in more words or less, that's saying, do tattoo places bring more crime, right? If we're taking it back to a 1950s kind of perspective, if that is true, and I don't know the numbers on that, then I don't think we're prepared for that area as undeveloped as it is.
Fair. But can we actually pause our conversation and let the applicant speak for a few minutes? Because I think it would probably fill in some of this as to what exactly is desired in this location and what has already been there. So if the applicant would like to come forward, thank you for your patience. You've been monumentally patient tonight.
Ethan Taylor. So we've owned the building there for probably close to 35 years. We ran Tailor-Made Beauty Supply out of the warehouse when we had 20 stores, and we've sold most of those stores, and I've opened up kind of the men's concept, and I have a current barber shop in Murray that the mall is basically leased the space out from underneath me. And so I've been kicking around this idea for a couple of years, and I'm kind of forced into it now because I don't have a landing spot for my barbers or my store, which, makes me, close to $300,000 a year. So, I would like to bring that tax revenue back to Orem. That would be nice. And honestly, the idea is that there's been a lot of warehouse building in the area. There's a lot of guys down there. And so, a guy that can go get a haircut at his lunchtime or going, as opposed to kicking around, some field during lunch, can come and sit in the barber shop and talk and do whatever. That's kind of the vibe that I'm trying to create. And then we're still going to manufacture our beauty products and our men's lines, in the warehouse as well. So it's going to be a mixed use type of a facility for us anyway. But I'm hoping to be able to, have 5 or 6 more guys that I can, give a job to and all of that. So that's kind of the main idea behind it. Like I don't have tattoos. I'm not a tattoo guy, but that was, when we had initially discussed it, we were like, because there is, guys that get the tattoos for their hairlines. And I'm like, I have so much space there. I'm like, I might as well add the use in case we want to use it. And we can kind of go from there. So.
Can I respond now or do I have to wait? Okay. And I totally agree. And my comment initially was based off of previous experiences. I was asking the other gentleman about management because that's my background is third-party property management. And the tenants that we worked with who brought tattoo places, and they were exclusively tattoo, right? So It is different from what you're doing. And the complaints just rolled in the day they moved in. And it was a headache from then on in. Everything from crime to noise to, loitering. I mean, it was just, it was so frustrating. I recognize how your business and your proposal is different from that. And like I said earlier, we have to think really broadly on a 20, 30-year scale for the entire city. So that's not anything against like this specific plan. I think this specific plan sounds dope. That sounds great. So that's the frame that I'm bringing this into, and that's the perspective that I have to bring to the table here.
Yeah. My question goes back to what percentage of your business do you think the tattooing would be? Because we do have the one.
So right now,
and so that's why I was just.
So right now I would have a 1 chair. That's kind of the idea is I have one room that I already have because I'm like, I could throw in a tattoo chair there. I've got a nephew that does tattoos. It's like, I could come down a couple days a week. And, my client, because he drives all the way up to Salt Lake to do tattoos. And he's like, I've got a lot of Utah County clients that have to follow me up to Salt Lake. I could just do them there. I'm like, yeah, sure. So like I said, like we had said, it's kind of an incidental use with the barbershop. Barbershop's my main thing. Like that's kind of what I do. And then I do a lot of the men's grooming. I'm trying to make it, we're going to be doing custom hats and things like that. So it's, it's going to be hopefully more of like a, chill, laid back hangout for guys in the area to kind of come and visit. So
I only asked because we have the other 15% one. And so I just was trying to understand what you guys saw. It's hard to
I don't have to tattoo in any of my other stores. I've never done it. So I have no idea.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, any questions for the applicant? Jeff, any questions?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Rebecca, do you have, sorry. You were just changing the slide. Sorry. Okay, so discussion, comments? Oh, yes, we do. Sorry. Thank you for that. Yes, I do. Thank you for the reminder. We do need to open this up for public comment. And so if you could please come forward, state your name and limit it to 3 minutes. But we appreciate you commenting because this is like some of this is citywide and we don't always get our community in here
Exactly.
to express. So I appreciate it.
I still am Marion Baxter from 325 West, 1600 South. Just a technical issue. In this setting, this is one of the first times I've been in the city council new setting. It is, I can hear these mics. Madeline, I can't hear you.
Okay.
And it's not just Madeline. It seems to be the commission mics aren't really coming up. And I don't know if that's handled on site. So I know this isn't directly to your thing quite yet, but I wanted to make sure. Is that an issue?
Closer doesn't always help.
Just making sure
I'm
you
just
get
telling
close.
you from the back of the room.
Yeah,
I
no,
can
that's
hear.
fair. And I appreciate
maybe
it.
Darren. I can.
Yeah.
I'm like,
okay.
Do they know this? Yeah. Anyway, okay.
Well, we
This
can
is
turn the
a,
mics up too. We haven't had them very hot.
do you have control maybe?
We don't personally, but
Okay.
we do have some control.
I'll send a note next time I'm here. This is a really interesting project coming up. And I'm not a person for tattoos, but permanent makeup for men and women and hairlines and all that is really a valid occupation. And I'm saying Orem has been, I think this has a need in Orem, and it would fill an interest, and the setting, I think, really makes sense. It's a great multi-use combination, and I think because, if I understood correctly, the applicant, the owner, would be on site and very closely tied to the success of a multi-use integration, that it wouldn't descend into the misuse of that type of project going forward, or process or business going forward. So I think it's really interesting. It's really kind of fun to see the inner workings on the community level. Through the years of living in Orem, I have appreciated the opportunity to interchange with the council and the commissions, and I'm really grateful that I got to be part of the public tonight. So thank you.
Thank you. There aren't any other comments on this one, are there? Like,
My inner child can speak up, I guess.
we've just had a lot of call-ins and extra ones, so I just want to make sure I didn't miss one.
Yeah, we haven't received anything else on them yet, so.
All right. Then I'll go ahead and close public comment, and then I'll bring it back to the commission for discussion and motion. Again, thank you, Darren, for reminding me. Sometimes you get like into it, and then it's.
I think the M2 is too broad. I think I want to support this specific plan. Yeah, I think in a different way.
Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah.
Jeff, go ahead. Is that
Yeah,
okay?
sorry. I probably just, I'm
Yeah, you're doing your best. Just go ahead,
yeah.
Jeff.
No, you're good. I'm just, I'm failing to see, Britton, so maybe you can help me see what you're seeing, the downside of expanding this in this area. I just don't see it as a high risk. There, I don't think there's data to support that we have more crime because of tattoo parlors. And I don't, help me see what you're seeing that makes you uncomfortable with this.
Yeah, I think mostly it's, if you look at that map that portrays all of the zones that we have, the M2 zone covers a vast area. And I think that, so just, no, I don't have data. It's just from my personal experience of having rented and literally been the manager of tattoo parlors and had to been responsible for the complaints and dealing with law enforcement, that I can provide a first-hand account of what made my job harder while I was managing those few residents, or those few occupants. I just think the M2 zone, I think adding it to that, I just think, and I mentioned the massage therapy locations, that are like, Cricket Wireless, the ones that are just, they're everywhere, or like mattress firms, it's like, well, how many do we need? So I just think the M2 is too big of an area for it to include something that has such a fast upstart, in addition to the additional requirements that it has. I think that I don't have anything against tattoo places in particular. I just think that from a macro perspective for the city of Orem and a 20-30 year timeline, I think the M2 zone specifically chosen to include these areas, I think is too big for a 20 or 30 year timeline. I think if we can find something more specific that can be a little bit more niche, I think would be more appropriate.
Okay. Thank you. Darren is actually first.
Let's see, what number was this again? What SLU?
60/20, yeah, 62/31, 62/32. And if you turn it over the page is the other one we currently have, which is 62/32, yeah.
Okay. So, okay, so 62/31 is permitted in several places already. And I'm not able to do that math in my head right now, but your concern, Britton, is that, well, this expands it, but it seems already permitted in several kinds of places.
Yeah.
And so, and it strikes me that, it also strikes me that there are other regulations in place. I like this, 15% of the revenue of the beauty shop to have a tattoo place. That would seem to by itself cut down on concerns about crime, as that would be primarily beauty and barber shops.
No, that's for this particular example.
6232 requires everything, from what I can tell. Tattoo shops always have to be part of a beauty and barber shop. Right?
Can we get clarification on that? Because I was wondering about that too, because the one that's listed here in our motion, in our item is 62/32, which is the one that's the 15%, as opposed to, are all of our tattoo shops in the C1 barber shops also? Because I don't think the one down the street for me is.
Oh, they're supposed to be.
Well, I don't know. Okay, so I haven't exactly walked in to check, but
Do you remember how earlier Becca told you that business licenses up until recently were being reviewed, not
yes,
by?
exactly.
That's why.
Fair. So,
they.
Right.
yeah, sorry.
So I would make the point that there are safeguards already in place, and that this is an expansion, but it's not an enormous expansion, and it seems like an appropriate, needed kind of business in this kind of area. I thought he made a very nice point about that.
Yeah. Susan?
I was just going to say, I think in our area, everything's built out down there. It's built out, and there's a high demand for light industrial, mixed use, whatever you want to call it, where I just don't see, as a property owner, I'm going to put in a tenant who is solid that I don't have to worry about. So if I have someone who wants to come to me and I own that property, I'm going to be less likely to lease it to someone if I'm concerned about it. And if I am concerned about it, I'm going to jack up that rent price to cover my concern enough. So I think the free market will kind of do it. I think that space is built out in light industrial, and you know what I mean? Manufacturing. The M2 is kind of all built out. It's not like anyone's going to build. It's kind of all that light industrial feel. And it sounds like it's a great location for what you want to do. I just feel like it fits the land use. I would rather have it there than right next to a residential zone.
Which we have a lot of those already.
Sure.
Or evidently down the street
Yes,
from you.
yeah, a couple blocks away, yeah.
And I can appreciate that as a business owner, that would be your perspective.
Yeah.
Having the experience of having been a third-party property manager, there's a lot of owners that don't care. And they just want it rented, period. And they don't care who goes in it. They don't care the parameters. And if there are concerns or complaints, it's not their problem because it's my job. So I
think you need to charge more.
But if your concern is that we're going to invite, because this is a big zone, that we're going to invite more and more of this, I just don't see the market normally wanting to go into that space anyway. You want frontage, you want people to see you as they drive by. So again, I don't think that the fear that by allowing it in M2, suddenly we're going to have 500 of these in the city next year.
Yeah, I think, and I go along with that too, that I think we're in a place where there's a lot that's already allowed in the M2, and it's not like people are throwing up McDonald's every 4 blocks because it's allowed.
Yeah.
And I think the other side of it too is, if we're looking in the 20 to 30 timeframe, the reality is that area is probably going to redevelop in a different way because of the pressures of housing, Utah City coming in. There's going to be a lot of things that I think, as we've talked about with general plan discussions in the past and things, that there may be other. I would be surprised if it's exactly the same in 30 years from what it is now. And really, parlors are already all over Orem. They are next to our homes. They are wherever, and it's a choice. And I think it makes a lot of sense to be in that area.
Sure. All right, you guys have persuaded me.
Yes, Carl.
So again, this is just an accessory. It's not the primary tattoo business. It has to have the barbershop beauty parlor component with it. So it's not a standalone tattoo shop or smoke shop. It is an accessory business that fits in with a beauty shop.
Thank you. Susan?
Can I make a motion?
Yes, you may.
I move that the Orem City Planning Commission, am I close enough that you can hear me? Forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for the request to amend Article Appendix A of the Orem City Code by including standard land use number 6231, beauty and barber shops, and SLU 6232, tattoo and body piercing as permitted in the M2 zone.
Second.
Okay. Susan moved and Britton seconded that we forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council. I'll begin with Jeff for voting.
Aye.
Okay. Britton?
Aye.
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 Okay. We will forward a recommendation of approval. See, we used to call it different and it is still stuck in my brain that way. That's why I say it wrong every time. One day. So that will be a positive recommendation. Nope, still going to say it to City Council. Recommend approval.
We can go back to that. It's just how I type stuff.
I know.
It's all okay. Thank you all.
And then I will read it in just half a second.
Okay.
Okay. Now we're going to move on to item 5.4, which is a right-of-way vacation for Home Depot. It's a request to vacate a 0.16 acre portion of the 1000 South right-of-way termination at 590 East. And this is the city's again. So Jared will.
Thank you. It's not ours. Actually, it's Woodbury Group.
Oh, it's Woodbury.
That's okay.
Sorry.
It's for the Home Depot by Woodbury Group because they own the property here at the shopping center. So this is a red outline of the area that's to be vacated. Just a little a primer on one of the weirdest things you'll do. I've only done a couple of these in all the time that I've done it. It's very possible that this will be the only time you ever see a right-of-way vacation. So rights of way are owned. That's even the wrong term. Rights of way are different than fee title property. So let's say that the city owned this piece of property and we were going to deed that, or we wanted to give that to the Home Depot or to the Woodbury Group. We would declare it surplus and then deed it over or sell it to them or whatever we might do. Cities do not do that with rights of way. We have to vacate them. So we have different kinds of rules because they're not property in the same way that other lots and fee title properties property. So that's the reason it's a right of way vacation. We don't process them very often. The Home Depot is building a new facility here on the Woodbury Group's University Place property. And this piece of the end of the right of way at 1000 South has always been part of that site plan and that equation. It was rezoned to PD 34. That's the zone that covers University Place. Last year, the site plan was approved recently. The property here is part of it as well. That's been purchased by the mall for a long time. Let's just go to another slide here to show you. This is that parcel that you could see there, that house that's owned by the mall. Sorry. That's owned by the mall. This is the end of the right of way to be vacated. And this is actually part of the project as well. So you can see here what we've had them do is describe the end of that right of way with legal terms so that we can declare it vacated and then vacate it to them. The way vacations work, you're also, as a city or an entity that has that right of way, you don't get to sell it. You don't get to choose who gets it. You have to vacate it to the property owners on either side abutting that right of way. In that case, that is the University Mall. So That's who gets it regardless. No one is affected by it. They're all still able to access their properties, those residences that are still in use there, the Olson's property, et cetera. And then this would become part of the parcel, which is, or part of the Union. I'm going to keep saying Union Place. I'm sorry. The University Place property. So that's been anticipated by the subdivision that we have approved, by the zone changes that we've approved. We're just getting around to the right-of-way vacation at this point to make the subdivision workable. So if you have any questions about how that would work for us, it's something that you would recommend to the council, whether you say yes or no, and the council makes the decision to vacate.
All right. So quick question. So the 590 East,
Yeah.
Is that a right of way or is that just?
It's been vacated for a while.
Okay.
It was vacated along with an easement that was recorded back in 2020. So we're not vacating that part. Just this is all that's left of right of way.
Carl? Not Carl, Micah, sorry.
So this isn't going to be used as a egress or
No.
anything, is it? It's just going to be fenced off.
That's right. The PD 34 is the wall actually that goes here. The PD 34 zone doesn't allow, it's written specifically for University Place. It doesn't allow any access out onto the residential side over here. And in fact, you guys missed the fun of all of this stuff, most of you. So there's going to be a tall wall here, a 12-foot wall across all of this property to kind of barricade them. That's a harsh term, but to block them off from that residential neighborhood. And then University Place, Woodbury Group is going to deed a little extra property to these folks so that the super tall wall is a little further away from their homes. So they have a little extra space there. So yeah, no access through. It'll be walled off. Good question. Any other questions about the right-of-way vacation?
So just for clarification, is somebody from Woodbury here to speak or?
No, I spoke with Kathy earlier.
Okay.
I didn't see her. She was not going to be able to be here, but that was, I figured, I told her I know enough about this project after all these months that I should be able to answer anything that's asked.
Just want to be clear if we needed to go to applicant or.
They're aware that it's happening, but
Okay.
not in attendance tonight.
Okay. And to be clear, like the city's vacating. I wanted to re-clarify that the city is vacating
The
it.
city would be vacating it. That's what you meant when you said. Yeah.
Yes, that's what I meant to say. I wanted to make that clear. And I'm trying really hard not to make a joke about asking if it's going to Hawaii. But anyway, it's 8:00, guys. I can make jokes. We do need to do the public hearing. So I will, it is a public hearing, so I need to open for public comment. So I will do that now. If you would like to come forward and speak, 3 minutes, state your name, please. Yes. And I will go ahead and open that for public comment. And I will close public comment and we will continue on. So this is pretty straightforward. It needs to happen. It's behind the wall. It's just, this is crossing crossing T's and dotting I's.
Since my last motion got overturned, I want to move that the Orem City Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for the request to vacate the 0.16 acre portion of the 1,000 South right-of-way terminating at 590 East as described. Period. End of motion. Point of view, I need a vacation too.
Second. In unison.
Darren moved and Britton seconded that with enthusiasm, that we forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council.
And I'll take a vacation. Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're totally fine. Carl?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
It is unanimous. Item 5.4 will be forwarded with a recommendation of approval.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anything else? Normally I turn to Gary, but Gary's on vacation talking about people who are.
Very good.
So
I'll let Gary know. I'll text him right now.
I know he's gonna be sad he missed this one. So, okay. If there is no further stuff or information stuff, wow, I really am tired now. I need dinner very badly. If there's no further business, could I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion that we adjourn.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, Britton moved and Susan seconded just before you, Jeff,
No worries.
to adjourn. But I will start with you, Jeff, for voting.
Aye.
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 Okay, we are adjourned at 8:06 p.m. Thank you,
Thank you all
guys.
so much.
Thanks,
Really
guys.
appreciate it.
See you too.
Oh, you guys did the heavy lifting tonight. You did.